Good evening and welcome to the Monday, August 25th, 2025 meeting of the City of Worcester Zoning Board of Appeals. My name is Jordan Burke Powers. I will chair tonight's meeting. This meeting of the Worcester Zoning Board of Appeals will be conducted in a hybrid manner with both in-person and remote participation. As a preliminary matter for tonight's hearing, I'd like to confirm the board members and staff who are present. Board members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Board Member Abramov?
Here.
Board Member Campanello?
Here.
Board Member Cortez?
Here.
Board Member Torcono?
Here.
Board Member Sacco? We'll give you a chance in a little bit. City staff, Rose?
Present.
Victor?
Here.
And David?
Here.
All right, and Michelle was here.
Board Member Sacco, if you're on your phone to unmute yourself, press *6. If you're on your computer, you should just be able to unmute yourself with the unmute button.
Board Member Sacco?
Here.
Great, we will need you tonight. All right, before we start, a few housekeeping notes. Tonight's meeting is being live streamed from the City of Worcester website, and the recording will be available for rebroadcast. This is a public meeting, which means both that it is being recorded and that the minutes will be taken and published at a later date. The public may participate remotely by calling 1-669-254-5252, and again, that number is 1-669-254-5252. And the access code is 160-456-4634, #. And again, the access code is 160-456-4634, #, or using the link shown on the screen. Once an item is called, there will be a brief presentation of the item, followed by any additional comments and clarifications from members of the city staff. Then an opportunity for anyone from the public to speak on that item before we proceed to board discussion and action. To manage remote participation during our hybrid meetings and prevent disruptions, all participants are automatically blocked from unmuting themselves, turning on their video, or sending chat messages. For remote participants who would like to comment on an item on our agenda, we ask that you use the raise the hand function in raise your hand feature in Zoom during the discussion on that item. If you're joined by phone, you can raise your hand by pressing *9. And again, if you're on your phone, it is *9 to raise your hand and alert staff that you'd like to speak. Staff will then call on members of the public one at a time, giving them permission to unmute themselves. If you are joined by phone, you will then be able to unmute yourself by pressing *6. Again, it's *6 to unmute. Please note that the board appreciates brevity in your comments. To help with this process, we ask that all speakers participating in person use a microphone to please clearly identify yourselves each time you speak. And the first time you speak, please state your city or town of residence for the record. To help maintain an orderly meeting, please address all comments and questions through the chair, that's me, rather than directly to any of the other speakers or applicants. Applicants should be aware that approvals are generally conditional. Decisions are typically signed by the board at the next meeting and filled with the city clerk the following day, beginning the appeal period. It is the applicant's responsibility to address any conditions of approval, and lack of doing so may result in delays or enforcement. Please contact the planning division with any questions. Any party aggrieved by a decision of the board has the right of appeal, Mass General Chapter 40A, Section 17. There are a number of items in our agenda being continued or postponed, which I will read through shortly. If you are here on one of those items, please note that no additional notice will be sent to you before the next meeting. The best thing to do is to call the planning division or come up afterwards and just get their card the day prior to our next meeting to confirm if that item will be heard or postponed that night, as it is not uncommon for an item to be postponed multiple times before they are heard by this board. I would suggest, for the purposes of streamlining our meeting, that Board Member Campanello offer to make any motions and that Board Member Cortez second any such motions. In the event either members prefer not to do so, I'd simply ask that you identify another member to do so. We are going to take out of order for the purposes of making sure that you can get to your next meeting. So we are going to start the agenda with item number 9.
Through the chair,
Yeah. Oh, we have to do the.
continuances and postponements.
Thank you for doing that. Okay, sorry, I apologize. I forgot to actually do the continuations. We have one continuance, 17 Montclair Drive. It's a request to continue the public hearing to October 27th, 2025, and extend the constructive deadline to November 18th, 2025. And we have two postponements. 14 Emery Street, request to postpone the public hearing to September 15th, 2025, and extend the constructive deadline to October 7th, 2025. And item number 5, 304 Lavelle Street, a request to postpone the public hearing to September 15th, 2025, and extend the constructive grant deadline to October 7th, 2025. Is there such a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to continue item number 1, 17 Montclair Drive, and postpone items 3 and 5, 14 Emery Street and 304 Lavelle Street.
Is there a second?
I second the motion as stated.
On the motion, Board Member Abramoff,
My vote is yes.
Board Member Campanello,
Yes.
Board Member Cortez?
Yes.
Board Member Turcono?
Yes.
My vote's yes. All right, items number 1, 3, and 5, 1 17 Montclair Drive, 3, 14 Emery Street, and 304 Lavelle Street are continued. If you have any questions, please contact the Planning Division. Thank you so much for that. I'm sorry. All right, now, you're up, and we're going to take number 9, I believe. Is that correct? Is that correct? Number 9? 393, 397 Shrewsbury Street, is that correct? Yes? Okay, great.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Donald O'Neill. I'm a lawyer here in Worcester with an office at 688 Pleasant Street. Here this evening on behalf of 318 Park LLC in connection with this property at 393, 395, and 397 Shrewsbury Street. Two of these parcels are vacant land with a parking lot. The property at 397 is a three-family dwelling. And this is a project which has, I don't believe has been before your board, but has gone through the planning board. In 2023, they approved a site plan under the CCOD zoning district. Also, a special permit was obtained from the planning board for the parking relief, basically, in terms of the number of spaces that would be provided. The plan that was filed and presented and considered by the planning board did not provide for a loading space. And under the CCOD special permit authority that exists with the planning board, they do not have the authority to waive a loading dock. The underlying zoning in this case is MG2. There is a requirement under the provisions for one loading dock for buildings between 10,000 and 50,000 square feet. In this case, we're proposing a 5-story building. 4 of the stories are actually residential. And in that residential component, there would be 24 units, 8 proposed as 1-bedroom units and 16 as 2-bedroom units. In addition, what has been provided and approved by the planning board is 25 parking spaces, 20 of which would be surface lot and 5 would be podium parking under the right-hand side of the building. And of that mix, 4 EV-ready spaces, 2 compact spaces, and 1 handicap space are proposed. The additional space that's available on the first floor is intended for recreational use and commercial use, which is the intent of the Commercial Corridors Overlay District. So we, in the bulk of the building, 4 of the 5 stories are actually residential units. And given the size of the commercial area that is available, even though the building is 35,000 plus or minus square feet, there is no need for a loading dock. And unfortunately, the planning board can't waive that requirement. So this was discovered recently in connection with the plans to proceed with the building. And so we're here this evening to request that relief from the zoning board.
City staff.
Through the chair, my name's Victor Panak. I'm a planner with the Division of Planning and Regulatory Services. So presently at this site is a 3-family dwelling and a parking lot. The applicant is proposing to demolish the existing site improvements and construct a mixed-use high-rise dwelling with podium and surface parking and commercial space on the ground floor with 24 residential units on upper floors. This project was already reviewed and approved by the Planning Board in 2023 under site plan review. It also received special permits from the Planning Board under the Commercial Corridors Overlay District to modify parking dimensional requirements and reduce the minimum parking requirements. The applicant recently realized that the project also needs relief from the 1 required loading space and that a special permit from the ZBA is required for that. For conditions, staff recommends only a few of the standard conditions and a condition requiring a construction management plan.
Mr. Chairman, I forgot. I have reviewed the recommendations and have no problem with those. And also, there are a list of 3 required waivers on page 4, and I would request those waivers.
Is anybody here for 393, 397 Shrewsbury Street? Is anybody online? If you are online, just use the raise your hand function or press *9. Okay, assuming not, so as best I could tell you, everybody went through the process, assuming everything was ready to go. You're in the finals and you're like, oh, actually, there's this small piece that actually we do need the zoning board for, which is a loading space, but based on the size and how much actually parking space and actually there's a lot of space around it, there's plenty of space actually on site to do any sort of loading or unloading you may or may not need to do. So this feels pretty straightforward to me. I'm ready to move it forward. Other people's thoughts? Board Member Abramoff.
I have no problem with it.
Board Member Campanello.
No comment.
Board Member Cortez.
Good project.
Board Member Torcono.
No comment.
Board Member Sacco.
No comment. Looks good to me.
Okay. In that case, I will entertain a motion to close.
I'd like to make a motion to close the hearing.
Is there a second?
So move.
On the motion to close, Board Member Abramoff.
My vote is yes.
Board Member Campanello.
Yes.
Board Member Cortez.
Yes.
Board Member Torcono.
Yes.
My vote's yes. Is there a motion on 393, 397 Shrewsbury Street?
I'd like to make a motion on 393, 395, and 397 Shrewsbury Street for a special permit to modify the parking dimensional layout and/or landscaping requirements, loading requirements, and/or the number of required parking spaces, including the recommendations and waivers on page 4 of 6 of the staff memo.
Is there a second?
So move.
On the motion, Board Member Abramoff.
My vote is yes.
Board Member Campanello.
Yes.
Board Member Cortez.
Yes.
Board Member Torcono.
Yes.
My vote's yes. Thank you very much. Good luck.
Thank you for taking me out of order.
No problem. Good luck getting to your next meeting. All right. Next up, we're going to go back to number 2, and that is 8284 Harrison Street.
Good evening. My name's Jay Gallant. I'm an architect working with Ed Fallon, who's the property owner. Ed owns and lives at 82 Harrison Street. 84 Harrison Street is the property or the parking lot that's directly adjacent to 82 Harrison Street. It's under common ownership, so it's essentially one property. So on the property is on the third floor where Ed lives, and on the second floor are 2 residential apartment units. And the first floor, there's a residential apartment unit in the back, and the front is a vacant restaurant space. So I first met Ed about a year ago. I think the restaurant was still open at that time, and it has since closed. And also in the time between when Ed and I met and when we started working together in June, some repairs began at the property. I think there were the property was in disrepair for years and has continued to be, and Ed's Ed finally found some people that could help him with the financial part of it and has started to work on the building. So part of that endeavor, and Ed wrote a letter that was submitted as part of the application explaining why he wants to convert the restaurant space to residential space. It just makes more sense for the property, for him financially, and is consistent with the rest of the properties on that street at this time. So the property, we need the relief because the building is essentially on the side yard, the side property line on the left side, looking at this photo, and right on the street, as you can see, and front and side setbacks are required that we can't meet. So we've reviewed the recommendations and the waivers. I guess I can start by requesting the waivers that were recommended. And then also, under the recommendations, we have one problem.
Okay.
As some of the restoration work has been done and the repairs have been done, some siding has been installed. And it was part of one of the permits, I guess. I don't really know. So there was a citation about, yeah, so basically there were some holes in the roofs and in the facade and in the fascias and in a few different areas. I mean, as you can see in the photo, the original building was a beautiful building, still is, but had some maintenance issues. So some of the historic material was badly damaged and has been removed. And one of the recommendations, perpetual recommendations, is to retain all the historic material, some of which is no longer there. So we're going to need to address that. And other than that, that's really our only concern. We're excited about the project and hopeful that we can move on with converting the fourth unit to a residential unit.
City staff.
Through the chair, this is Rose Russell in the Planning Division. So the project in front of you is seeking a special permit to extend, alter, or change a pre-existing non-conforming structure at 82 and 84 Harrison Street. So as discussed, presently on the property is a three-family with 2 units in the upper floors and then 1 residential unit on the first floor and then 1 commercial unit. So they're seeking to convert the commercial unit, previously a restaurant, to another residential use. And the property is pre-existing, non-conforming in regard to the side yard setback and the front yard setback. So both are located right on the property line, so there's no setback provided. So they're seeking to make a change to the structure. So that's what requires a special permit. Regarding some of the historical improvements, our condition of approval was based on this lovely 2019 Google Maps photo. So we had identified that there are some historic elements that we wanted to see preserved on the building. And it appears from discussion that there's been some work done already, so particularly on the siding. And I haven't been by the site. I haven't seen any recent photos, so I'm not sure to what extent the work has been done. So I'm going to recommend some modifications to our condition of approval, but I think it's unclear that if a permit was approved for the work. So we just, would really like to see some of the historical fabric be refabricated, so replaced and recreated what was previously there, or if it's been covered up, we'd like to see it restored. So just a little bit more about the property and the proposal. So this is the existing site, and then to the right, in the right photo here, there's some parking. So it's unstriped today. Some of it's gravel, some of it's grass. So we're assuming, based on the square footage of the commercial space, that the parking requirement was higher than would be for an additional dwelling unit. So we're not concerned in terms of parking requirements about them meeting the requirement, but we do just recommend that they more clearly define the parking to prevent tenants from parking in any landscaped areas. So we didn't recommend it as a condition, but we just want to put that out there.
Okay. Is anyone here for 8284 Harrison Street? You're welcome to speak as well if you'd like, but I figured you're getting represented. Is anyone online? Please use the raise your hand function or press *9. Okay. So it sounds like you had a citation to make that somebody cited you for some needs for some updates. It didn't look like you did, it looked like some work had been done, but I didn't actually see, I did just sort of drive by it. So I will say I didn't expect what sort of work had been done. So I will, in fairness to you all, I don't exactly remember what it was, but it seemed like mostly it's sort of as is. Is that correct? Like some work's been done, but it's not like, you didn't make drastic changes or anything. Yeah. Oh, you gotta turn it on to the green.
Yes, I got cited, and they asked
Yeah.
me, Ezekiel told me, and he said, please, get this cleaned up, get it sided, get it painted, and so I did exactly what they told me to do.
What's the siding on it now? I don't remember.
I have a little picture if you want to see. I can show you.
I don't know if we can.
I mean, I don't know if
think
I
you
can send it to you.
as long as you send a copy to the city, I think.
I'll send it to you.
Okay, so we need to make some changes to figure out. I'm not somebody who owns a property, who lives on a property, who lives in a 3-decker. I live in a 3-decker. That's also ridiculous to try to keep. It's a beautiful structure that you want to keep as best as possible, but you also need to keep residents and people safe in it, including ourselves. So I have a lot of. I don't like to add a lot of it feels like in those situations that we should make it as easy as possible for folks to come before us and do the work that needs to get done to keep it, while still sort of trying our best to keep some of the structures. So I'm open to the board. My preference will be to allow it to stay as is and ask for any changes, like keeping, I think, as much of the look of it, certainly the structure and other things, as historic as possible, while also keeping it a job that's easy for you to sort of update and make available and bring on as residential. So in there is my preference. Obviously, if you've given by it, there's certainly plenty of parking. So I think just what you could do to make that clear is fine, but there's plenty on.
I mean, all the utilities have been changed. All the plumbing, all the piping is all changed. All the electricals, all changed.
Okay, yeah.
Everything's been pulled out, so.
Yeah, so this feels like pretty straightforward. You're not actually making any changes to the outside. It's historic. It's a pretty to drive by. Nice features with the round. So, other folks, Board Member Bromoff.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair, I really don't have any problem with this. I mean, by putting that restaurant on the front, they kind of already did, I guess, some damage to the historic look of the property. If you can maintain as much as possible on the upper levels and make the bottom fit as best you can, then it would behoove you to do it. It would be nice for the city.
Yeah.
So I don't have any problem supporting this.
Board Member Campanello.
Through the chair, I'm in agreement. I'm happy to move this forward, whether that's amending recommendation number 1 or removing it. I'd like to hear from the board if what you're saying is to remove it or keep as is or adjust the language a little bit. To
Yeah.
what extent?
Through the chair?
Yeah.
Excuse me, basically, it does say retain all historic fabric as currently exists. So what's there, including what you've cited, is what currently exists. So wouldn't that cover that?
Through the chair, do you mind if I offer a comment?
Yes,
Sure.
please.
Yeah, so our comment was based on the photos you're seeing here. So I think staff would like to see the applicant refabricate the removed historic fabric as currently or previously existed on the exterior of the structure. So really just a modification to that first paragraph. And I mean, we are asking that they refabricate some of those materials that were removed. I think, we didn't realize there had been changes. I don't think it's clear at this time that permits were obtained for modification to the siding and that it would have been stopped at that time. So we're just advocating that the board ask that those things are maintained or replaced, whether they're existing today or they were removed. So,
Yeah, I guess I'll say for myself, I don't feel comfortable asking the applicant to go backwards in time if there's not back to wood, if they've added siding. That's actually a lot of work and a lot of money. So I don't feel, I don't know if other board members feel that way, but I don't feel comfortable with making that demand. I'm comfortable with as is, but I don't feel comfortable with that. Other folks, yeah.
Yeah, through the chair, to the applicant, how much siding are we talking about that was replaced?
The whole place was sided because that's what I was told to do. The city told me to side the whole place, and it was all rotting and everything, all those shingles, a lot of them were rotted. I mean, to be honest with you, my house was like a birdhouse. I mean, the birds were all flying in and out of there, so.
So, excuse me, so this picture is an old picture?
Yeah, it's an old picture. I'll send you an updated one.
Through the chair, if you don't mind, I'd like to see a current picture. So
Yeah, you can show us
if you
right
don't
now the
mind, please
pictures.
pass that around, and then we
It's
can...
just, you have to also submit it, because we can,
Yes,
not
yes,
everyone online
I'll
can see
submit
it, so it has to, we need it in the.
Because-
Hold on.
Through the chair, if he's already re-sided most of the
Yeah.
structure, I think we're asking something that is pretty difficult to accomplish.
I'll let other folks take a look. Yeah,
If I could just comment real quick, you'll notice in those photos that a lot of the architectural detail at the top of the building, under the soffit, is still there, which is a good
could
thing.
you show it over here too?
Sided vinyl siding with wrapped windows.
Yeah.
So that's all.
Yeah, I feel,
What did you do on the round part?
it's the same. It's, yeah, I feel comfortable, I don't feel comfortable asking an applicant to go backwards
To
in
go
time.
backwards, through the chair, I agree with you.
It's a little too much for me. Other folks' thoughts on that?
Through the chair, I actually commend you for developing and rebuilding this beautiful building here in an area that really needs a lift up. I very much am aware of how Harris Street in the surrounding area, by bringing this building up, I had some questions regarding the way I see the picture, but now that you show me this here, that I have no problem, to continue moving on and finish it up. I'm for it.
We sort of cut you off, so.
No, no problem. I'm in agreement.
Thank you.
Board Member Torcono, you weren't able to see the images. I apologize, but
It's okay. I drove by, I know the property, and I support it, and I congratulate the applicant for doing that on Harrison Street.
Thank you.
Board Member Sacco?
Yep, likewise, with Board Member Torcono, I did see the property in my eyes, and it does look really good, and I am agreeing with the rest of the board.
So, I mean, it does say as currently, but it didn't look like there was anything. If I recall correctly, there's still some work on the front, a little bit. Yeah. So, I guess I would say, I think we could keep the language and make clear that what we mean is from today, like where it is today. Retain, and for me, a lot of the things that are important are like the look. It's got a lot of character. You've kept to that character, so much so they didn't even remember the color change. I just remembered that it looked the same. And then any other picture and any other pieces that you change, and then the front where you haven't finished, just try to keep it as much the way it is right now.
The reason why is because you see that column coming down, that's holding up the roof.
Yeah.
So that's why we're delayed, so there's some structural stuff that's gonna get done. And that's the
Right.
only reason why I wasn't finished, just to
I
make.
definitely don't
We're
think of that.
proposing a bracket detail rather than the post, which wouldn't have been
Yeah, I don't think
historic.
the post is historical. Yes, something that looks nice is definitely our preference. Yeah, go ahead.
Through the chair, just minor question in here. The attic, is there something in there? I see a window there.
It's
Is that gonna
nothing
be-
up there, it's empty.
eh,
I mean, it has a crawl space, I mean, it's like 9 or 11 feet to the peak.
And I'm
You can
sure,
walk, and it just has boards going down in the middle.
so I'm sure code inspection will go through it and look, for safety,
Yeah.
fire hazards. up there. I see it's a window there. Is that you're gonna put a better window, nice window there? Or
I
you're gonna close it?
I think it was going to be closed. It was going to be closed,
Whatever.
yeah.
Thanks.
I mean, the fire department is well aware. I mean, they're in and out of my house all the time.
I think,
Inspecting.
so I think well, I guess under this order, it would say that you would keep this window, but make it look nice.
I'll keep the window if you want me to.
Yeah, so
It's
I'd
part
say
of-
just whatever hasn't been
Yeah.
done, try to keep it as close to the historical as
Yeah,
possible.
well, I'll put, I mean, I like the window, so, but
yeah,
the
we
guys were
just-
saying, you know,
Which is part of not changing
Yeah.
much of the
I'll put the window
appearance.
in.
So
Okay.
that, nice.
yeah, I'll put the window in.
Yeah, okay.
No further comments.
I don't know if other people, I'm actually okay with the language, but I don't know if other people feel, as long as we're clear and the order's clear, but I don't know if other people, if it's clear, that just like moving forward.
Through the chair.
Yeah.
I think the distinction is that it must be replaced in kind. Again, we're talking about this current moment
Yes.
moving forward.
Yes.
So I think that the language can stay there as, described through this conversation, that's the intent behind it.
Could I ask a quick question?
Yes, please.
So maybe Mr. Horn could help with this too. So the work that's currently being done isn't really part of this special permit, to my knowledge. How do we keep the project going now with the repair work before this takes effect?
So I'd say whatever's happening on the outside, whatever happening on the inside, once we approve it, my understanding is that that's fine. We're approving whatever changes you're making. On the outside, where the top part, where the roof is, whatever hasn't been done yet, you're looking to figure out how to do it in such a way that it keeps a lot of the same character. So if you need to replace the window, like replace the window in kind, try to make a similar, so it looks similar, feels similar. If there's the wooding, if there's sort of the sort of texture there on the front, figuring out how to create something that looks like that same texture. So it stays the same, but we're not asking you to undo the work that's already been done. What's already been done is done.
Through the chair, there's also the added language that states that it must be reviewed by the planning division. So not only doing that work, trying to maintain it, but also having it reviewed by the planning division.
Yeah, so you'll have to, well, the planning division has heard our thoughts on it. Someone will have to come by, but you have people coming by,
Right.
just to look at it. But it's mostly done,
Yeah,
right?
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. And I would say and obviously, we don't think the wood beam is historical in nature, so just make it look nice. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah,
Through the chair, thank you. To the, Jay, so there's no siding involved with the permitting that's going on now? How come the siding got missed? I'm a little confused.
The signing came from a citation from the city. They gave me a lot of citations, and one of the citations was to do siding and to clean up the whole outside. And I didn't bring the citations with me, but that's what Ezekiel told me to do. He wants it all sided. And of course, this happened during Christmas time. I said, I can't do siding in the winter, and I was trying to scramble. But it's right in there. It says all the siding and everything to be done.
Yeah, I'll follow back up on that.
Yeah, no.
Usually they're looking for maintenance on the house. I'm not sure about the siding piece of it per se.
Well, they said to fix the whole outside, like do everything, including the
Yeah.
wall, because the wall had graffiti on it, and there was all kinds of things going on.
Right. Siding usually requires a permit through my department so we can review it.
Like, I'm sure we got a permit for the siding. We had to.
I'm
because-
looking now to see if there was one. There's been quite a few permits there you've got a lot of permits there, so. So there's ongoing renovations going on there now?
Yes, second floor's getting totally renovated.
Yep.
Yep.
And then after tonight, you're going to move forward with another permit for the storefront renovation?
Yeah, the storefront will come later, yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. Overall, I just want to say, I remember driving by, I think it looked great, and that was all I remember. So whatever, I think the impulse of this board is to thank you for the improvements and the beautiful, like, it looks, it's, the the architecture that hasn't been changed by the storefront looks fantastic, and to just continue doing the work.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, that is our, I think, summarizing, I think that's the board's feeling about it. Okay, is there any other discussion on this?
Through the chair, I'm just wondering how the language would be read on, if we get to approve it. Yeah, item 1, then would be part of it.
Yes, so my understanding is that we would keep number 1 as is, but make clear that we mean it's not going backwards, so starting today. So any other changes to the facade today moving forward has to be in line with sort of what it's, the historical character.
And upon approval by the board.
Yeah, and the planning division will have to just take a look at it, whatever you're planning to do, which they'll have to do anyway you'll have to pull permits for
All right.
the storefront to do the interior. So just when you're doing that, talk to planning board about what you're planning to do outside.
That sounds good to me.
Yeah, and we have made clear that we don't think you need to go backwards, so that's the clear order. Right, but the inside, you still have to do the inside. So you'll have to talk to the city for the inside. When you talk to the city for the inside, also talk to them about what you're planning to do for the outside, and the planning division is here, so they have heard the board comment about our preferences.
Through the chair, if I could just add, I just want to make clear what we're trying to distinguish between existing and proposed work, because from our perspective, there's no permits for the exterior siding. So if that's something we want to keep within the board's purview of the work they're doing here, since we haven't been able to identify a permit for that work, if that's something the board wants to keep in the perspective, or just set some minimums, because I haven't seen the photos. I know
Sure,
other
yeah.
staff, so.
I think, so, I guess, so we can make clear then, for number 1, we can say, keep as is today. I don't know exactly the language around it, but keep as is today, including the work that's been done on the exterior.
Through the chair, would that amend this list that includes roof structure and sheathing, slate, siding, doors, diamond pane windows, window trim?
It would, because most of that's
Those
already been done.
items, so that would have to be removed.
We can remove it, yeah. I think so. Except, so the only problem is, again, I'm trying to do this off of spending maybe 30 seconds driving by, because there's a lot of places, so I would try to get to everything. It's the top, the sort of roof, that part is the part that I believe has not been finished.
Right.
And so what we're asking for is just on that portion to try to keep it looking the same in terms of the historical characteristics. So if you need to replace some of the wood frontage, replace it with something like, and you've already painted it, so there shouldn't be too much work there. And then I believe you still have something to do with what's holding it up.
Right,
correct?
the column.
And so whatever you do there, talk to the planning division so that it looks and feels like what historically would be there. That's my understanding of the work that still needs to get done on the exterior. Is that correct?
Yes, they're just going to put a brace down, right? And that was it.
Yeah, we can review that with your department.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I think however we can word that, that is our preference. And so we can amend one to reflect the conversation. That is also,
I'm a little hesitant to do that, not what the board is looking for, but just a little more clarity on what we're looking to strike from the condition. I think the general understanding is that you want to retain the historic shape, structure.
Yeah.
Not that they're replacing any elements specifically.
yes, correct. Additionally, moving forward, there's still a little bit of siding. There's still a little bit of work on the is the roof, did you guys do the roof as well?
The roof is done, it's just
Yeah,
this
So
peak.
it's the front. So the only thing left would be the window in the front. That's sort of in the attic, needs to get replaced. And there's wood siding in the front that adds some texture that's already painted. I'm guessing it probably needs a few replaced pieces. I had that done on my house where they had to replace some of the pieces that are falling apart. And then there's another just thing that needs to happen, which is supporting what you see here in the picture. There's a supporting beam that needs to get done.
Through the chair,
Yeah.
just for my understanding. So basically, in item 1, it actually says, retain all historic fabrics as currently exist. So that's what we're talking about, from the point that it is right now.
Right.
So if we strike out right from there on until the word decoration and picked up that paragraph, should any exterior historic fabric be damaged and so on and so forth, right to the end. So I can see that that would be the only part to keep on item 1.
Okay, I like that. So what Board Member Cortez is suggesting, which I think is really great, is return all historic fabric as currently, again, today, so not to go backwards, on exterior of the structure, period.
Yeah.
Should any exterior fabric be
Yeah.
damaged beyond repair and may be replaced in kind, so in that case, it'd be like the wood for wood, or with similar material to be reviewed by the planning division.
That's it?
That's it. The
That's
condition
it.
excludes facade renovations, commercial portion, which already been done anyway.
That's it?
Okay. Does that work for folks? Great job. Does that work, folks?
Works for me.
Okay. In that case, I'm guessing no one's raised their hand in this all this time, so I'll entertain a motion to close.
Give it a minute. All right, I'd like to make a motion to close.
All right, is there a second?
So move.
On the motion to close, Board Member Bramoff,
I vote as yes.
Board Member Campanello,
Yes.
Board Member Cortez,
Yes.
Board Member Turcono.
Yes.
My vote's yes. All right, is there a motion?
Excuse me, through the chair, can I just add one comment?
Oh, please.
To the petitioner? I would make sure that you send those pictures to the planning
Yes.
staff today. If they don't already have them,
Okay,
make sure they have them before the
office.
meeting is over,
okay.
okay? Because that's the existing today.
Right, that's right, that's correct. So you can get their email right as soon as we finish this, and it's on your phone, so you can email it right now. That's great, thank you. Yeah, is there a motion on that?
I'd like to make a motion for 82 to 84 Harrison Street for a special permit to extend, alter, or change a privileged pre-existing non-conforming structure, including the recommendations on page 3 of 5 of the staff memo as amended for recommendation 1 to read, retain all historical fabric as currently exists on the exterior of the structure. Should any exterior historic fabric be damaged beyond repair, it must be replaced in kind or with a similar material to be reviewed by the planning division. The condition excludes facade renovations to the commercial portion of the building. And for the waivers as requested by the applicant on page 3 of 5 of the staff memo.
Is there a second?
So move.
On the motion, Board Member Abramoff,
I vote as yes.
Board Member Campanello,
Yes.
Board Member Cortez.
Yes.
Board Member Turcono.
Yes.
My vote's yes. So just to clarify, you are going to send those pictures now?
Right now.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Next up is number 4, 43 Haywood Street. State your name and city of residence.
Good evening. My name is Robert Murphy with Murphy Associates Environmental Consultants. I'm here tonight representing Wolf Gentile and his wife Ruth in an application to develop a property at 43 Haywood Street. Currently, there's an existing single-family house there. We're proposing to remove the existing single-family house and replace on the lot 2 buildings, multifamily use. It'll be a 4-unit building where the house currently is, a 6-unit building toward the rear, where we have open area, no buildings or anything in that area. We're seeking a variance for the side yard setback on the two buildings. If you look at the left side of the property, or the east side, there's currently a paper street there, Rice Lane. 50% of it was taken by the abutter on the other side. We anticipate later on gaining that property, but right now we decided to develop with what we have. So we do not feel that going from 10 foot to approximately 9 foot on the side yard will have any impact upon residents or whatever. It should also be noted that there's only a portion of each building, about approximately 12 feet of the corner of the building that requires relief on the setback. The next variance is for parking. We feel that based upon the demographics, the anticipated demographics of this building, we feel that 16-car parking is plenty for what we anticipate. We fully expect to have several single residents within several units. So those are two variances. We also have a special permit required for the layout, parking layout. What we've done is to provide 25% of the parking as compact cars. And again, we feel that's good. And we're also providing the required number of electric stations for electric cars. And those are essentially going to be put in areas where you have, say, closer to the one unit would be close to one building, the other unit would be closer to the other building. But whatever the requirement is on electric cars, we plan on meeting it. It's actually a benefit, to market the property. As I mentioned, the street on the left is a paper street. And we fully expected a later time, although we couldn't tell you when, but we fully expect to gain ownership of that property and basically use it as a landscaped area. Right now, it's sort of a no man's land where everybody and anybody throws their trash in there. So we'd like to see it cleaned up, and the best way to do that would be to gain ownership of it. That's basically my presentation. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
The city.
Through the chair, this is Rose in the Planning Division. So before you is an application to construct two multifamily low-rise dwellings. So as you can see, one with 4 units in the front and one with 6 units in the back. The rear one is 3 stories and the one in the front is 2 stories. So on the property today, there's a single-family dwelling that's going to have to be demolished for this proposal. And then in the interior, it's 16 parking spaces to serve the 2 units. So the applicant's seeking relief from the 10-foot side yard setback, a variance for 4 parking spaces, and then a special permit to modify dimensional layout or landscaping requirements. And that's going to be a 5-foot setback for a 5-foot landscaped buffer setback from the parking facility to the property line. So right in the center of the lot on both sides of the parking facility, they don't have that requisite 5 feet. So that's what they're seeking through the special permit. We have a couple questions, comments that I just want to hit on. So staff, we had made some comments in our memo on the parking facility. Really, the layout of the building and the parking lot together is rendering quite a bit of the site impervious. So we had just asked the applicant if they had considered any other styles of construction with parking underneath, one building with more units inside it, or any alternate layouts for the parking facility. No recommended conditions, just questions to the applicant. We had also asked if they could explore extending the walkway to provide a walkway for pedestrians to the rear unit. So they are proposing a walkway from Haywood Street to the first building. And we had just noted that there are some discrepancies between the architectural plans and the civil plan. On the civil plan, it shows some stairs, and we just wanted to see if it's possible to provide some continuous pedestrian path, either without stairs to the first building or without stairs and connected to the rear building somehow, whether it aligns with any striping that they need. We'd like to encourage them to do something like that. We had also asked the applicant to confirm whether they need any accessible spaces, if they need any striped ADA spaces. In the event they do, they may lose a parking space or have to reduce some spaces to compact. So that was something we had mentioned in our memo. We had asked that they eliminate some of the benches they proposed, so they're depicting 10 benches around the site. We had just asked that they swapped out a couple of those for picnic tables to more activate that space for the residents. And then just some of our conditions of approval. We asked for a photometric plan. We asked for updated landscaping, so we wanted to see a third variety of trees, eliminating any snow storage anywhere trees are planted. We had asked for them to depict the limit of clearing, any trees over 9 caliber inches that are going to be maintained or removed. There's some pretty substantial mature trees along the property's frontage, so we would love to see those be preserved. We asked that they remove the chain link fence along on the eastern side of the property and replace both on the eastern and the western side of the parking facility, either a stockade fence or some densely planted arborvitaes to shade any of those headlight glare onto abutting properties. We had asked for some exterior bicycle racks. And I'm happy to talk about any other specific recommendations that the applicant has questions or the board has questions on. The only other thing I want to add is that it is a pretty big lot. It's about 18,000 square feet and over 100 feet of frontage. So in this zoning district, they do have quite a bit of flexibility in the RG5, so they could do a high-rise with up to, I think I set out one of these sheets, up to 19 units or a low-rise with 11 units. So there is they have the requisite frontage and lot area to build quite a bit denser. So really the limiting factor, I think, here is the parking with just the more skinny and deeper site. So, and as the petitioner had mentioned, there is a Paper Street Rice Lane that travels on the western side of the property. If they wanted to go through the legal process to extinguish any rights and absorb it into their parcel, it's not something we're considering today, but they could seek to do that in the future. If they wanted to, and that's the setback that they're seeking is the buildings to that property line, so that would eliminate that variance, but not something on the table for the board to consider tonight. But I'm happy to answer any questions the board might have. Thanks.
Before we get to public, do you have any, so the city asked about the discrepancy between the civil and the plan. So basically it says that there's stairs on the side of the building, and the city, and I'll speak for myself, I would prefer that it be easy for somebody who needs some sort of wheelchair or other accessibility to be able to walk on the side of the building. So we're trying to figure out what the discrepancy is with that, and if it's possible to just have a walkway around the side of the building that's indicated if it moves forward. And then there's a couple of other important pieces that again, I would consider important should we want to move it forward, regarding making sure that either there's some sort of fencing that blocks light going through, or more sort of trees, and the trees that are there, for which they are extensive, some sort of planting plan. So it says, like, these are the ones we're planning to keep, and so forth. So I don't know if you have any comment about those items.
If I may comment, we provided a landscape plan, and we have no problem with adding additional, buffer to it. It would benefit both sides, really. But we have no problem with, adding additional landscaping. As far as the walkways, I think there was a conflict between the civil engineering plans and the architectural plans, where I would prefer to have a stairway where, well, call it a friendship stairway down in Martha's Vineyard or Nantucket, where you have the stairs actually come together from each side. They don't go forward into the parking area. They follow the walkway. It allows you to enter from either side on the walkway and, if necessary, a ramp. At this time, we don't anticipate, the buildings being handicap accessible, but we certainly have no issue with providing a ramp for people. Again, through the planning board, we could, we have no issue with, providing, those requirements that Rose had mentioned.
Okay. We'll give you a second, George. Just let me go to the public first. So if you are here for 43 Haywood Street, please come forward. Just come to the podium one at a time. Just state your name and city of residence and deliver any comments to me, the board chair.
Dina Johnson, Worcester. I'm coming forward just with some concerns. This is a residential neighborhood. There is one apartment building before 25, and then it's all houses. So we're talking about taking a significant residential property and turning it into a place with multiple units. This is not a street with multiple apartments going down it. This is a neighborhood, a thriving neighborhood. The area that he's talking about where trash is thrown, there's a neighbor that's been there for 16 years. The house next door were teachers, were doctors, were people who have, this is a big project. And then we're talking about adding, which I think is great, to add places for electric cars, but we're taking down tons of mature trees and green space in an already hot area. We've invested in this part of the city. It is the east side of Worcester, and we've invested by being there and, making sure our children are safe there. I do feel that there's also so many residents that would be coming in with no owner there. It does not match the rest of the houses. Those are my concerns.
Yeah, Chris Johnson, husband. Yeah, that is a concern. And also, if anybody's driven up that street, I feel like adding all these residents is the speed limit now is 25 and nobody goes 25. And we've been on that street a long time. My wife said, I have concerns about taking all these mature trees down and actually warming up that neighborhood that doesn't need to be warmed. And, it is a thriving neighborhood that we're trying to keep safe for our children and the children that are there. And I have concerns that would change that neighborhood.
Excuse me, one other thing. Dina Johnson. So the other part is congestion. Traffic congestion on our street has been an issue. It's why there was a traffic light put in. We also had Worcester Academy come in and do a rather significant project, right? We've been on board with that. It's just a lot of construction in a residential area. But traffic congestion is also an issue. I'm sure the city is aware, since there was a light that was put in at Granite and Haywood, this traffic builds all the way down that street. So already that's an issue. And then it looks like this is going to be a project where we'll have to raise an entire property, and there'll be a lot of construction there as well.
Okay, thank you very much. Yep, please come forward, state your name, city of residence.
Good evening. Edward Orell, 114 Vale Street. The property which he's talking about is basically my backyard. And she's talking about the traffic. I've already been hit there on that corner. They rear-ended me. My concerns isn't so much about, what the noise and stuff like that. It's more of my property has already been destroyed because of the street he's talking about, that whatever street it is, that fake street. The previous owner had gone in, cut down a whole lot of trees, then had dump trucks of gravel, fill, stuff like that put in there. When it rains, it comes down Haywood, goes down that little street he's talking about, goes right into their backyard. Because of the piles of dirt that he put in there, it's now directed into my backyard. I can't use most of my backyard. This spring, all kidding aside, we had a bullfrog out there, croaking every night. Now he's talking about taking down these trees and putting in a sidewalk or stairs going down. We already have a water issue coming down that hill. It's going to get worse. The property goes like this. It doesn't go like that. So if you're going to build down and you're going to tar it, you're going to bring more water into my backyard. I can't even mow my lawn right now. I spoke to the new owners years ago, asked them. The other guy had promised to fix this. He never did. This new owner explained to me, not my problem. I didn't put the stuff there. So I've had to deal with this. I've had to call lawyers to see what rights I have. I mean, my corner of my yard's gone. Can't mow it. And now you're talking about putting my back windows, my bedroom, my bathroom. We're going to look out that window and see this big building behind us where there used to be trees. I don't see it happening. I don't know if it's already been approved, but I mean, there's a lot of things that got to be looked at before we start saying yes. Why those piles of dirt were left like that, why nothing was ever done before. And we have a water issue already there.
So just to clarify, if somebody is, so the reason that they can't do it is because it's a paper street, which means it's not technically owned by the applicant. So what I would suggest is if somebody has dumped, and that is a problem, you should definitely talk to inspectional services. They're the people who can deal with the current situation. And so it's like when you're out there, it's sort of weird because technically when you go, so even in this property, the sort of like major trees that are on the side towards the back,
Yep.
those are actually on the paper street, so they can't actually touch those
But
because
when
they're
they
not
put
technically on.
excuse me, I apologize.
Yeah, no, please go ahead.
When they put the piles of, the old owner put those piles of dirt there.
The
It
current-
wasn't put on the paper street, it was put in their yard.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now the water comes down that paper street you're talking about, it's not going back into the rehab place like it used to. It used to go right to the sewer there. It doesn't do that anymore. It goes around the piles of dirt and it comes right into my backyard. You sink in my backyard.
Yeah.
Because they diverted the water into my yard. We've put up all kinds of piles of dirt, we put up lumber there to try to stop this. It won't stop. Had they just leveled it off years ago like they promised, I wouldn't be having this problem. But we have a water issue already right there. I can't see how this can perk after a good storm.
So, yeah, go ahead, Dave, I see you get one.
Through the chair. So we'll send out the site inspector that works for me to go and evaluate the site to see if there's an issue there now, and we'll do whatever we need to do. If there's some type of violation there, we'll address it. And while I'm speaking, because I heard the gentleman, the applicant, say something about the building's accessibility. These are new buildings. They might not trigger handicap units per se, but the buildings will still be accessible. So if those buildings have stairs in front of the doors, you may need ramps. And I'm just bringing that up. I know this isn't the purview for this, but I just want to be clear. Those buildings will need to be accessible.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. I hear what you're saying. So I want to be clear because I always try to be clear with residents. I appreciate you coming to speak. There's things we can do and things we can't do. So the current situation, we don't have purview over. That's not this board's ability to fix, especially because it's not on the property technically, although it's obviously when you're out there, it's weird because it's sort of on, sort of not. So for that, please do talk to inspectional services. It sounds like he heard you, he's here. He's going to send somebody out. Make sure you're in contact with them. They're the people to sort of deal with, like, these are the problems that we're seeing today. That's unfortunately not something we can handle. In terms of what can be there, that's what the purview is, and that's the zoning. So I just wanted to be clear to answer that question for you.
I understand that that dirt street is not theirs. I get that. But before they put those piles there, it always went into the rehab's parking lot and into the sewer. Ever since then, it's been diverted into my yard. So I'm trying to stop that from happening, and my fear is that we're not talking about a flat piece of property. We're talking about a property that goes down like this. You're gonna make it nice and smooth. So even if they get the street, even if they don't get the street, you're gonna have water that's gonna come down onto that property. Where are we gonna drain it off to?
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I'll ask some follow-up questions to the applicant. Thank you. Before I do ask questions, yes, another person, please.
May I?
Yeah, do you want to answer to me through me? Yes, go ahead real quickly. Yep.
we did an extensive hydrologic study of the property, and what we found was that several properties above us on the hill have been developed with parking lots and pavement and a lot of things with no stormwater management. Didn't appear to be permitted at all. And what's happening is, and I fully agree, when we did the analysis, I realized this guy's getting flooded. So we developed a system so that all of our drainage, 100% of the drainage from the parking area, buildings, all of the additional impervious areas are to be recharged on site up to the 100-year storm. What we essentially did was to not touch the drainage that's coming from the other properties. And we just let it reroute. And as he mentioned, there's a bunch of piles of gravel there. I don't know who put them there, but it appeared to me that whoever was down below put them there because the owner had no reason to put them there. But the water was flowing down into their parking lot. And it appeared to me that someone put a berm with, in order to redirect the water over to the neighbor. And we can't just take our drainage and dump it onto someone else's land because someone said there was a pile of dirt there.
So I just want to, I'll let the next person go and say that we are not in a position to identify how the current problem happened. We can talk about what is the things that we can do. The inspectional services are the people to actually clarify how
And the
it
property
got to
is
this.
currently zoned for this use.
Yeah, go ahead. I'll talk about that in a second. Yes, please come forward. Just state your name and city of residence. Do it into the microphone so we can get you appropriately on record. Thank you very much.
Sure. My name's John Curry. I'm the next door neighbor to where this development is going along Haywood, 47 Haywood. Parking. There's, I think if I remember it right, it was 14 spaces required and 6 provided or 7 provided. But
There's 20 required. There's 10 units. There's 16 spots that they're being proposed. So there's 10 units and 16 spots.
okay. Parking along Haywood is tough. We had a tenant who parked their car there while she was just moving stuff in and out, and within about a half an hour, somebody hit it. There's a guardrail there. That guardrail's been hit several times. It's just not a great place for parking there. I think there's a problem. Where are they going to park? It's going to be a long way away. There's a garbage bin going in just not too far from my window where I sleep. Actually, my tenant sleeps. And there's a window on that side, on the back. I don't want to start smelling their garbage. If they could move that away a little bit, that'd be great. There's also a linden tree right next to it that's gigantic, that's pretty, and I'm hoping stays. I think it is proposed to stay. If that could be confirmed, I'd like to talk about it. What else do I got here? Trees. I was going to talk about this water, but you already got that. And I guess those are my questions. How are you going to park there when the lot is full, turning around in the back down below and then come out and park up on the street where there's nobody parking on that side of the street from down at the bottom of the hill, up past Vale, and up to past my house even. So that's one of my worries. Anyway, thank you, I guess.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Can I just clarify one thing?
If you do it in the microphone, yes. Just say your name again. Yeah, no problem. Go ahead. Please come up. Just state your name again for the record, please.
Edward Orell, 114 Vale Street. It was questioned on who put that dirt there. I've been there over 20 years. I was at the fence when the previous owner of that house cut the trees down and had the trucks come in. I watched him do it. When I started flooding out, I went to him and spoke to him about it. He promised he was going to fix it. This was the previous owner, okay? I then approached the owner of the house now, showed him what was going on. told him, there was a promise made here. I was told by that owner, not my problem. I didn't do it. So, I mean, this is the way we've been treated. He mentions the back window. My bathroom and my bedroom will be looking at this. The traffic, I've been hit there once already. My truck got slammed into. We're talking bringing a lot more people into an area that Worcester, that school is already building up on top of that hill. We're going to bring in more people now? There's a lot of people in that area already. I just wanted to, I know where the piles came from, so.
Okay,
Thank you.
yes, please bring it up with special services.
One other thing, Dana Johnson. So just to their point with all the single units, which is, this is a family neighborhood. Again, like, I don't know if we missed a session or I did not get the letter notifying of there was like a different hearing about a zoning change for this property. It's just, there just seems to be like not an understanding that I've been there for 20 years. I mean, you know, just the investment in our property, and not for it just to be single residence units, like it should be maybe, and then he said there would definitely be a handicapped accessibility. Great, you know, I mean, but we should be investing in our residential neighborhood.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anybody online for this star 9 to raise your hand or use the raise your hand function?
We have one member of the public online who'd like to speak, who's raised their hand. That's Wolf. And Wolf, I'm going to give you the option to unmute yourself, and then you can introduce yourself and give us your comments.
Hi, good afternoon. This is Wolf Gentle. I'm the owner there at 43 Haywood Street. And a lot of concern that been raised there as 114 Vale Street. I remember having a conversation with that person a while back, but not in a 1,000 years I would ever promise him that I was gonna do anything about it. Because when I moved in, the situation was the way it was. So we had that conversation. He brought up that concern about his shed getting flooded. But I told him, I did not told him it's not my problem or it's not my issue. It's just the way it was at that time. And some of the concern some other neighbors may have about, like, this is a single family neighborhood. Right across the street of my property, there's a condominium that's probably have like 10 units or even more right across the street from on 43 Haywood. And on the side of my property, the neighbor, the White House, it's a 3 unit, and right in front on John Street, there are multiple 3-family units and even more, even 4-family units. And as Bob mentioned, we have done the study to control our water. Most of the water that get to 114, it's not our water. It's the water that came from the top of the hill and then drift down to his property. And I even have water that comes down to my own property.
So I will again remind people that we cannot suss out at this hearing the cause of the flooding currently, or I will say, even if you didn't cause the problem, you are responsible for the upkeep of the problem. So that is definitely something that inspectional services will bring up and is not something that the zoning board is meant to deal with per se. So I will, again, it feels like we're getting into recriminations with neighbors, and that is not the purpose of the zoning board. The inspectional services will require you, because you own the property, to maintain it in such a way that water doesn't flow needlessly. And we're here for a proposal about something that's happening. And so I would like to focus on the proposal and what's before us. So saying I didn't do it is actually not an excuse. That's not actually how it works. when you own property.
Okay, I mean,
So I want to focus on the proposal before us and not what, like, inspectional services will get into how to fix what's currently happening with the water. Okay?
okay, sounds good.
Thank you. All right, is there anything else about the actual proposal that's before us? Okay, yeah, go ahead, please.
No, as per of the proposal, this is within the zoning ordinance, so I don't see anything. I mean, there's some trees like the neighbor from 47 Haywood mentioned. That big tree next to the trash would stay, and some of the front trees, like the big tree on the front, they are invasive trees that we plan to cut down and replace. And along the side of the property, we'll manage to keep most of the trees that not in the location where we plan to build.
Okay, thank you. Yes, please, go ahead. Just state your name for the record again, please.
John
Just-
Curry.
No, you have to do it into the microphone. Thank
John
you.
Curry, 47 Haywood Street.
Thank you very
You were
much.
talking about the ramp and the stairs. I have a stair going down in between my house and the existing house, or it's actually on my property, but a stair there, so a ramp is going to be kind of not long enough for the ADA wheelchair requirements, which is 1 on 12 or something like that.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, they'll have to take it under if they do get approval for something. Okay, any other public comment? Okay. So I'll take a few things myself, and then we'll go to the other board members for other people's thoughts. So before us is, there's no changes to the zoning. The zoning is zoned for this neighborhood because there are, in fact, a bunch of multifamily units in the neighborhood. So there's no change to the zoning because there was no need to change to the zoning because it's actually a very big plot of land, and there's already multifamilies, as he said, across the street, 2 blocks, 2, 3, 4 houses down. So there's no changing. What happened is he's applied within the zoning that's currently available there for the plot of land to put something. What is available to them based on how much size there is, which is actually a very substantive property for the city of Worcester, is upward of more units. I think up to 19 units? Is that correct, Rose? Did I remember that correctly from the filing?
I think it's 19 for a high-rise.
Yeah, 19 units. They're proposing 10 units separated to 2 buildings. The water is a real problem on this neighborhood. I also did see it. And so if the thing that is most concerning is the water, and again, I do think there should be some remediation for what's currently happening to make sure that it does not get worse and what is there that's causing the problem gets immediately fixed because it is your responsibility to do so. That being said, there is a good plan on the record, and they have to, before putting anything in, they would have to go before the inspectional services to say, yes, we put this infiltration unit in. The water situation would get better because they would be actually responsible for keeping all that water on their property, and they currently are not required to do so. They can't make it worse, which it sounds like the previous owner did. They're still responsible for it. They would have to make the water situation, at least it has to keep all the water on, and they have a plan to do so. I also was like, this is a lot when I drove by it, but it is a large property. It goes back pretty far. The other thing I think to note for people who are concerned about it, if you go to the property, there's these trees that sort of are actually on the paper road, and they go into the back and they go into the, I was actually surprised it was a road. It's like the Rice Lane condominiums that are there. All of those trees are staying because they're not technically on this property. They are in the paper road, which is strange. So if you like go out there, you'll see it sort of like stops, and then there's all those trees. Those are all not being touched because they're technically on a right-of-way. That being said, I think we can do more to strengthen some of the insurance of the trees. So I think some of the requirements that the city mentioned, which is to flag any trees that have diameters over 9 inches and to try to preserve and if not replace like for like if you do take down. Additionally, I think there's been talk of keeping the tree on 47. I think additionally, there's some requirements for a fence that stops light moving in. I'd like to also think about, is there a way that we can either move the garbage or position the garbage in such a way that there's more of a barrier, maybe another tree, to try to keep some of that into the unit, into the space. I know it's tight on that corner because you're sort of coming in to the parking area. There is actually, in the end, because it's zoned for such heavy usage, the request before us is actually very minimal. So what that means is they're not asking us they're asking us for 1.3 feet, which is just that tiny corner in the corner where the paper road is. That's the only piece that gets triggered by this board, that tiny piece. Otherwise, they can pretty much do what they want on site right now. And if they took that, if they petitioned the city to say, actually, we want the paper street to be part of our property, which I don't think the city would much reject to, then that wouldn't even be here. That's not even triggering that. That's how much space they have. There are more parking spaces than there are units, which again is not something we're seeing every day here. And they'll have to figure out how to manage if they do more than that. So with those things being said, I think that there is still work for a planning before us.
Through the chair, this project does require more than one building on a lot and definitive site plan review
So
through the
I would
planning
say
board.
the building itself needs some work. It's not the most attractive of buildings that's being proposed. I think there can be more work to be done to ensure that this has as minimal impact in terms of lighting, which is required as a part of the zoning, in terms of putting up some fencing, which keeps this property on pace, and in terms of making sure that water stays on, and the attitude again that like, this isn't my problem, we'll definitely have to stop, like the person needs to take responsibility for what's there. So all of those things would be required beforehand. Because so much, again, can already happen without us oversighting it, I would rather us put all these requirements and have it move forward than let them do what they could possibly do, which is just have a big high rise and have basically nothing. Because again, it's zoned for this because the area has so many multifamilies. Okay, that is my thoughts alone. Other board members have a say. So Board Member Abramoff.
Through you, Mr. Chair, to the petitioner, how many bedrooms are in the 10 units? They all one bedroom, they studios, two bedrooms?
Two to three.
2 to 3, so we're talking about...
Average two throughout.
So we're talking about 20 bedrooms?
Right.
And you're looking for relief for 4 parking spaces?
Correct.
Also, is there a drainage plan that was submitted with all of this?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't see that.
If I could
Through
quickly,
Victor, do you have a copy of that?
the drainage plan was submitted as part of the entire package. To address, if I could quickly, I know I'm jumping in, but I listened to the abutters. I understand what they're saying. This office, we specialize in problem sites with flooding and drainage. We specialize in stormwater management. We have professional engineers who've been working with drainage for 50 years. The problem here is that we and the neighbor, we're the low man on the totem pole here on a tremendous amount of drainage that's coming from down above us. We're in the process right now, we redesigned the rear of the site to actually remove some of these piles of gravel because they're taking up volume storage. And I'm not really sure why it was put there, but it was a previous owner. But again, we're in the process of redesigning the grading to get rid of those gravel piles and to have more storage on site where we've actually reduced the drainage. But quite honestly, if you really wanted to solve the problem, you'd have to go to the people further up on the totem pole and, find out why they don't have any stormwater management, and they have none. But that's neither here nor there. As far as a tree, the linden tree, it's an excellent tree for that area. It's not invasive. It's native. It is not impacted by several of the beetles that we now have in the area. What I also mention is that this is the only native tree on the site. Every other tree on the site is invasive. There's Norway maples, there's several other trees, and they're all highly subject to the longhorn beetles. So we're going to be taking quite a few of these invasive trees out, and we're going to replace them with native trees that are not subject to, again, it's not so much that we're, as you mentioned, we're not asking for a zoning change, but we are a responsible group where we come in and we try to improve, number one, the drainage situation, and also the environmental situation relative to the trees, invasive species, things like that. As far as the dumpster is concerned, the dumpster can go pretty much, I agree, having it outside his window is probably not a good idea. Having it next to the paper street would be much better, and we have no problem with that. It's really a case of, essentially what you do is take a parking space and use it for the dumpster. So we'll gain a parking space there and lose one on the other side. But again, my client wishes to be a good neighbor here, and we have no problem with satisfying the requirements that we can to, meet their requests.
Through the chair, if I might, we do have a stormwater report that was submitted with their planning board application for site plan review. But they did submit a drainage plan to the ZBA, which is on the screen, showing the infiltration systems that they're proposing.
Okay, thank you. Through the chair to the petitioner, have you reviewed all of the recommendations of staff? And are they all okay? Plus moving the, the dumpster to the other side? So all those are acceptable?
Yes, I have no problem. It's a good idea, I wasn't aware of his window being so close, but it has a lot to do with the movement of the large trucks.
Sure, no, I understand that. I'm talking about,
That was pretty much the easiest place to put it, but that doesn't mean you couldn't put it on the other side.
the dumpster is one change, but there were, by my count, 13 or so recommendations of staff. Those are all okay with you? A to M?
Yes, we're currently in the process of, revising the plans with every single one of those recommendations.
Okay.
And also, just to mention, the fellow who does our photogrammetric plans, he was on vacation. He's working on that starting today. But essentially, we're going to have wall-mounted units here that are LED lights, and they have baffles on them. And the requirement is that you essentially have no
Spillover.
flood lights on the neighbor's property without a fence. It has to be zero at the property line. And these lights are, you could create the map and show what they're going to be, but the real beauty of these lights is that they have baffles on them. And those baffles have to be adjusted once the lights are put on the building. And they are adjusted to meet the requirements of the plan that was submitted. So essentially, I can tell you with, the LED lights that we have, there will be no flooding onto other property.
Okay, well, thank you for that. So all the other conditions are acceptable to you. And looking at this, myself, I see that by right, they could put as many as 19 units there. I mean, it'd be a stretch to get the parking and everything, but this is significantly less than the 19 units. And the variance is really small. It's, 15 inches. And the 4 spaces is not that significant as we've been reviewing other projects throughout the city. So, as long as all the other conditions are met and taken into account some of the neighbors' concerns, particularly drainage and moving the dumpster. The two things I'd like to see, which I think you've got, is a landscape plan and possibly a little bit more attractive of a building plan.
A little more what?
Attractive of a building plan. The plans we're seeing shows like a wooden box. Very little detail.
That's the architect, yes.
Yeah.
I mainly, we design essentially the foundation of the building, and the architects do it. But as far as the other questions that you had, we're working on all that right now. And, we have no problem with meeting all those requirements.
Does that mean, through the chair, does that mean we should wait for the revised plans to come back? I mean, maybe there are other questions.
Well, I believe we met the requirements for this, what we're here for tonight.
Yeah, the most of the things are just to submit them.
Yeah.
So and they go through the planning board. So a lot of them are already, there's all, like, we could, I mean, there's certainly like a small, like, bike rack in the near, moving the trash, like, we could, but they also would be required.
He's going to have to meet those
They're gonna have to meet
conditions
those to move
anyways.
them forward, so
Okay.
we would just be saying yes to it. It's up to you all. Board Member Campanella.
Through the chair. On my initial reaction, I'm having a hard time reconciling the concerns of the neighbors because I see them and, a part of me definitely agrees with them. But then also what's before us, and as the zoning board, the relief is minimum, especially compared to looking what is available by right and what this lot is zoned for and what could be there without our oversight. So seeing that they've been so agreeable, they're taking all of the recommendations, applying them to their plans. And then also I just wanted to note that for site plan approval with the planning board, there's soil testing for infiltration that is going to be submitted before that, fire truck turning analysis, and all of that is required prior to the planning board decision. And that also, if there's any public shade trees, which I'm not sure which trees are included in that, but those also require a shade tree hearing. So there's a lot more oversight than just us on this project. I can understand that it's a lot of change to that lot, but seeing the alternatives, I'm fine with moving forward with this application, but I definitely hear the concerns of the neighbors.
Board Member Cortez.
Through the chair. I myself also been listening to the abutters' concerns, but I'm also be looking in the responses to it. It appears to me, and I hope you feel that you have heard the responses, which are to me very positive. You can hear, you heard that there is a drainage plan there. In addition to that, you heard the chair focusing on those concerns and the responses for it. In addition to that, pretty much all the concerns that you have been addressed already by the planning board staff. There is a list of 10 recommendations here. And if you read them, if you don't have it, you can have a copy of it. You can see that resolves your concerns, because this is what the developer has to do, and that reflects your concerns. So to me, I'm pretty much forward for it, hearing all the positive responses in comparison to the concerns. So I'm fine with it.
Thank you. Board Member Trocono.
I think enough has been said, and I share the sentiment and the concerns about the neighbors, but I would like to move forward with the deal as presented.
Board Member Sacco.
Agreed. Definitely had questions, but I think it was covered by the rest of the board. ready to move forward.
Okay. So hearing the conversation, I'd like to propose item number N to reflect a requirement to move the, move the garbage location for, and for maybe an O to keep the linden tree as well on the eastern side, if I recall correctly. Yeah, and then all this stuff needs to come before us before it happens. And the applicant needs to request a waiver. There's one waiver.
Pardon me?
There's one waiver that you
Yes.
have to request.
Waiver for the,
There is one waiver for a percentage of lot area covered. You would have to request it on page 5 of 7 of the staff memo. We're asking that you request the memo, request the waiver.
okay, I'm not following you.
There is a waiver that you would have to request to move this forward. So we are asking if you will request the waiver.
Okay, yes, I request
Thank
that
you.
waiver.
Okay. Is there any other board member discussion? Okay. In that case, I will entertain a motion to close the hearing.
I'd like to make a motion to close.
Is there a second?
So move.
On the motion to close, Board Member Bromoff.
My vote is yes.
Board Member Campanello.
Yes.
Board Member Cortez.
Yes.
Board Member Tarcono.
Yes.
My vote's yes. Is there a motion on 43 Haywood Street?
I'd like to make a motion on 43 Hayward Street for variance for relief of 1.3 feet from the 10 feet minimum side yard setback requirement for a multifamily low-rise dwelling in an RG5 zoning district, for variance for relief of 4 spaces from the 20-space minimum parking requirement for a multifamily low-rise dwelling in an RG5 zoning district, and for a special permit to modify the parking dimensional layout and/or landscaping requirements, loading requirements, and/or the number of required parking spaces. For this, including the staff recommendations on pages 4 and 5 out of 7 of the staff memo, including the addition of N and O, and for the waiver as requested on page 5 of 7 of the staff memo.
Is there a second?
I second the motion as stated.
On the motion, Board Member Bromoff.
My vote is yes.
Board Member Campanello.
Yes.
Board Member Cortez.
Yes.
Board Member Tarcono.
Yes.
My vote's yes. Thank you very much. Please do talk to the planning division, especially about your concerns, and please do get the inspectional services to fix the current problems that are out there. All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I would like a motion for a 5-minute recess.
So moved.
Thanks.
Yes.
Come back at 7:18. Can I confirm online, Board Member Torcono?
Yes.
Board Member Sacco?
Yep.
All right, next up is 24 Lakeside Avenue, Lake Apartments, Phase 3. Just state your name and city of residence.
Through the chair, my name is Brian Beaton from Princeville Bell, here tonight on behalf of the project applicants to talk about 24 Lakeside. As you may recall, this project has been before you previously. We're here this evening for Phase 3 of the multi-phase project. You should have in front of you a package of information detailing specifically what Phase 3 entails. We thought it would be most helpful if we did an overview, a video that sort of details specifically what Phase 3 encompasses and how it fits in with the larger project as a whole. My colleague, Mark Bornstein, who you know and has appeared before you, put together this presentation, which again, I think comprehensively provides you with, again, the specific nature of the relief we're here tonight, and then also how the project as a whole ties together. One procedural element, excuse me, you have before you two specific applications for relief, one of which relates to a common driveway. It has been since determined that that relief is not required, so we are withdrawing through you, to the chair. We are specifically requesting that we withdraw that request for the common driveways. The reason being they're not applicable. At the time the applications were made, there was some question as to whether or not those common driveways, specifically the number of lots that are being served, and then also the overall length of the driveways themselves, whether or not we would require variance relief. But that has been determined through staff that the special permits related to the common driveways and then the corresponding variances are not required. So we are, again, just to summarize, withdrawing that. So with that, we'd like to provide you with, again, a visual presentation, and then, of course, open to answering any questions you might have. So with that.
We might have some slight audio issues with this video. If that happens, I will just hold my mic up to my computer, which will not be ideal, but it should work.
Worcester Housing Authority owns and operates the Lakeside Apartments, a public housing community along Lakeside Avenue, Circuit Avenue South, and Lovell Street. Built in 1949, the Lakeside Apartments was Worcester Housing Authority's first public housing project. It includes 202 apartments spread across 34 buildings on nearly 13 acres of land along Coes Pond. The apartment buildings are over 70 years old. The units are small, outdated, and energy inefficient. Accessibility is extremely limited, and the roads, sidewalks, and open spaces no longer meet the needs of the community. That's why Tremont Development Partners LLC and E3 Development LLC have joined with Worcester Housing Authority to launch a master plan to fully redevelop the Lakeside Apartments. Over 4 phases, the existing 202 units will be replaced with approximately 350 modern units. In 2023, the applicants obtained approvals for the first phase of the master plan project, which includes the demolition of 8 existing buildings and the construction of 2 new multifamily high-rise buildings containing 116 units, new walkways, open amenity spaces, and parking areas with approximately 69 parking spaces. In 2024, the applicants obtained approvals for the second phase of the master plan project, which will include the demolition of the existing buildings at 52 and 54 Circuit Avenue South and the construction of new buildings with a total of 10 ownership units, approximately 12 off-street parking spaces, and other related site improvements. Now, the applicants are excited to present the third phase of the master plan project, which will transform the middle section of the property by removing 11 of the existing buildings and replacing them with a brand new 4-story, approximately 117,000 square foot building. The new building will have a total of 104 units, affordable for families earning up to 60% of the area median income. The units will include a strong mix of unit types with 41 one-bedrooms, 38 two-bedrooms, and 25 three-bedrooms. The Phase 3 development area is located exclusively in the RG5 zoning district, and the proposed use is permitted by right at the property. Inside the building, residents will benefit from a range of amenities, including a fitness center, a community and meeting room, laundry facilities, an on-site management office, and indoor bike storage with charging stations for e-bikes. Outside the building, the design will feature landscape courtyards, seating areas, and recreational spaces for families. Walkways will connect residents safely throughout the site and the adjacent lakeside apartment buildings. Phase 3 will promote the goals of the Green Worcester Plan by being constructed in accordance with the Passive House Energy Standards, one of the most rigorous measures of building efficiency. The Phase 3 building's climate-resilient construction will require significantly less energy through well-insulated, air-sealed building envelopes, rooftop solar, and highly efficient all-electric HVAC systems. As a result, the new units will be more economical for residents, energy efficient, and environmentally friendly. On June 17, 2025, the Worcester City Council discontinued portions of Garland Street and Veterans Ave internal to the Lakeside Apartments site. The Phase 3 project area includes a discontinued portion of Garland Street. The Phase 3 project will result in a reconfiguration of this area to construct a modified driveway and parking areas with a total of 75 parking spaces, including EV and EV-ready spaces. The applicants are seeking a variance from the minimum off-street parking requirements. The proposed 104 units would normally require 208 parking spaces. However, the Phase 3 project is entitled to certain off-street parking relief as an eligible development under the inclusionary zoning ordinance. In addition to density bonuses and an entitlement to an off-street parking reduction related to a transportation management plan, the applicants have applied to the planning board for a special permit to reduce the off-street parking requirements by 50%, resulting in a total reduced requirement of 104 parking spaces. Given that the applicants are proposing to provide 75 parking spaces, the Phase 3 development will require a variance in the amount of 29 parking spaces. Despite this relief, the proposed parking spaces will adequately serve the Phase 3 development. According to the Traffic Impact and Access Study for the Master Plan project, ITE standards provide the average peak parking demand for income-restricted affordable housing units located in a dense multi-use urban area is 0.65 spaces per unit. The Phase 3 development proposes a parking supply of 75 spaces for 104 units, which equates to approximately 0.72 spaces per unit. Therefore, the proposed parking areas will exceed the average peak demand for the Phase 3 development. Moreover, the proximity of the Phase 3 development to existing public transit opportunities and a strong network of sidewalks and bicycle accommodations are expected to promote less reliance on vehicles as compared to other residential developments in the city. The Lakeside Apartments is conveniently located near WRTA bus stops along Level Street and Park Avenue. The Phase 3 development includes both exterior covered and interior bicycle storage facilities, which will promote bikeability and provide convenient, secure options for residents who commute or travel by bicycle. To summarize, the Phase 3 development will replace outdated, inaccessible housing with 104 modern, sustainable, affordable units, which will benefit the Worcester community for many years to come.
I always like his videos. It's a great way to present it. Do you have anything else? Otherwise, I'll go to the city.
No, I just again, summarize, I think obviously, hopefully you can tell, a considerable amount of time has gone into both the design and analysis of this particular phase, but also as a project as a whole. And I think the video and Mark's video does a good job addressing specifically the nature of the issue we're here before you tonight, but then also sort of painting it in a broader context, and again, how these pieces all fit together in sort of a comprehensive project. So with that, I'm more than happy to answer any questions.
All right, city staff.
Through the chair, my name is Victor Panak. I'm a planner with the Division of Planning and Regulatory Services. So presently at the subject property are 11 three-story multifamily buildings with a total of 65 dwelling units. The subject property is part of the Lakeside Apartments, and the applicant is proposing the third phase of the apartment complex's redevelopment. They're proposing This third phase involves the demolition of all of the existing buildings and other existing site improvements, and then construction of a single four-story multifamily building with 104 dwelling units and 75 parking spaces. The applicant also proposes outdoor amenity spaces like a bocce court, splash pad, fire pits, and grilling area. The project will also require review by the planning board under site plan review and has requested special permits from the planning board under the inclusionary zoning ordinance to modify parking requirements. Beyond the parking relief that they hope to get from the planning board, they will still need a variance of 29 spaces to achieve their proposed 75 spaces. The applicant has also applied for a variance from the maximum length for a common driveway, but after the application was submitted, staff from planning and inspectional services determined that it would not be necessary, and the applicant has already requested from the board that this particular piece of relief be withdrawn. Beyond the standard conditions, staff recommends a condition requiring that the outdoor bike parking be covered so that it can be used more effectively by residents of the development, and also a condition requesting landscaping be planted in an area where it is not currently proposed. The applicant has identified this area as potentially to be used in a future Phase 4 for parking, and we'd like to see that landscaped during the intervening time period.
Okay. Is anyone here for 24 Lakeside Avenue? Is anybody online? Please use the raise your hand function or press *9. All right, I'm not seeing anyone. So this is relatively straightforward. I'm excited that you're going to add more than that's already available. Excuse me, more units to the area, and is also part of the development, which has been ongoing and I think has been good overall. You know, it is more units than is currently there, but if I spent a bunch of time there. I've also spent a lot of time in the Lakeside currently, and it's in desperate need of repair, so I'm glad that there's some updates happening to the buildings. But there's always parking currently. There's not remotely filled. It's a lot of empty spaces. So I'm confident that this is plenty of parking based on your figures look a lot like what happens when you're there, which is that you never struggle to find parking in Lakeside Avenue, Lakeside Apartments. And I did it when I was there recently to look at this project again. So it was a Saturday afternoon or Sunday afternoon, and it was fine. So with that being said, that's the only thing before us are the 29 spaces. Otherwise, everything else is by right, and it seems, and it'll be an improvement and more housing, which is also positive. So with that, I will go to Board Member Bromoff.
Thank you. Through the chair, I assume the recommendations of staff are acceptable to you? And you request the waivers?
Through the chair?
Yes.
We had one follow-up on one of the items, and it's specifically the one regarding the recommendation for future plantings. If possible, we would like some flexibility regarding the timing of that. Specifically, I think one of the things that we were thinking about was if the timelines between Phase 3 and Phase 4 are relatively short. It doesn't make a lot of sense to have plantings only to get them torn up in a relatively short amount of time. So what we would seek is some amount of flexibility with respect to, again, once the phasing comes in and the construction schedules for Phase 3, Phase 4 kind of come into a little more clearer picture, we would request some flexibility regarding how we would then go about doing the
Excuse me,
plantings.
is that item 1B?
That is specifically, yes, and that is the item where staff recommended the applicant consider planting trees and shrubs in the landscape area on the easternmost side.
Through the chair, should we just change that to be, leave that except say that it should be done along with Phase 4?
Through the chair, can I ask a question and make a suggestion?
Yes, please.
I think we could have this as a prior to occupancy condition, but it also depends on how they intend to use that area in Phase 4, which I don't know, and maybe the applicant could clarify that, or at least a general concept of what that area will be used for.
Through the chair, again, just for point of clarification, it's the area where the plantings are proposed in terms of the staff recommendation?
Yes.
Right here.
Yeah, right there.
Through the chair, Rich Mazzocchi with Tremont Development, live in North Andover. That area that we're talking about on the Phase 4 site, or sorry, currently on the Phase 3 site, is planned for parking on Phase 4. So we just don't want to get into a situation where we're
Plant it and
finishing
tear
up.
it up.
Yeah, we're finishing up Phase 3. We're planning to start Phase 4 months afterwards and having to tear up plantings.
I think.
And
oh,
through
go
the
ahead.
chair, I don't have any problem eliminating that. That's
I guess
acceptable to the other board members.
I would have a problem with eliminating it totally, but I'm open to flexibility, only because I was on a different board when they started Phase 1, and they might hope to have Phase 4 next time, but if we don't, like, I would like to, if Phase 4, if there is a gap, I would like something to get planted, but if it is immediate, I agree completely with you, Board Member Bromoff, so I think somewhere in there, maybe it's like, somewhere in there is like, if it's gonna delay, because we don't know it could, I would rather have a planting plan, but if it's not delayed, I agree with you completely. So I guess that would be, so maybe it's something like, if it's not, they proposed occupancy, I would say, we could maybe say, reflect the easternmost area, should be planted unless Phase 4 is moving forward within 6 months or something that gives you some flexibility. I'm open to, like, I don't want to plant if you're definitely moving forward, and I also know that Phase 1 to Phase 2 took some
Good
time.
point.
Are the light dotted lines that outline parking spaces, are those the intended parking spaces that are going to be part of
Yeah.
Phase 4? Okay, so there really isn't much planting area there at all, if Phase 4 ends up happening.
So you would be okay with them cutting it?
I think it's okay to cut the condition, yeah.
Okay. Before we do it, let's get other people's thoughts, but is that, Board Member Bromoff, do you have anything else? Okay, Board Member Campanello.
Through the chair, I have no problem moving this forward, and I'm fine with removing 1B.
Board Member Cortez.
Through the chair, just a couple of questions. Is there at this time city buses running by through the actual project now?
Through you, Mr. Chair. Yes, and I think in Attorney Bornstein's video presentation, I think that was one of the particular things that we highlighted, that Mark highlighted during the presentation, is in fact the proximity to transportation, public transportation.
Proximity, but
Yes.
not necessarily that the buses go by the project, dropping people right by. And the reason I'm asking is because we need to evaluate whether there is a need for a bus stop booth, to the
proximity.
closest to the project, so they don't have to walk to the nearest WRT bus stops, stuff like that. So that would be a recommendation from me. Yeah, go ahead.
Through the chair, just to address the bus stop, it's on Level Street. So that's right at the beginning of Lakeside, a very short walk.
It's like right at that corner there.
Right at the entry to the Lakeside property.
And it's a bus stop real close by then.
Yes, on Level Street.
I'm
real
not sure
close
if
by.
there is a booth or, something that, if not, it's just the sign there. I would still recommend, to the booth. Thank you. One other questions are, do these buildings have external cameras for external cameras, to monitor violations, people, breaking or anything like that? Is that considered in the plan?
Through the chair, yes, we'll have both interior and exterior cameras throughout the property.
Okay, thanks. The last one is regarding the parking. By reducing the number of parking, I just wondering who who would be impacted by that reduction of parking? Any one of the units would be without parking, or this reduction is just doesn't impact any of the tenants?
Through the chair, it will not impact any of the residents. That's our expectation based on the historical parking use on the site right now. And also looking at, as we had mentioned in the presentation, really just looking at parking ratios consistently among properties like this.
So that, through the chair, so that every unit would have a parking space no matter what? At least one?
No, there's not one parking space per unit.
So there would be units without parking space?
Correct. And what we've found is not every unit requires a parking space on similar properties, including the existing property. There's a much lower parking ratio in terms of usage compared to the number of units on site.
It's currently true that there's more units than there are parking spaces.
What I would also mention is that's not including the on-street parking. So there is parking available on Lakeside Ave. That's off of the property. It's obviously a public way. But that parking is available for residents that may not have a parking space dedicated to them on site.
Someone would be out of parking anyway, though.
You turned off your microphone.
I'm sorry, I understand, the ratio between enough number, the units versus parking need. But to me, I just don't see, well, people may be renting without vehicles or anything like that, so good luck to that. I just don't, and particularly, I don't personally see that people would be left out without parking and cannot rent there because there is no parking. No comments.
Board Member Charcono?
I have no comment.
Board Member Sacco?
I also have no comment. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments from the board? In that case, I'll entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to close.
Is there a second?
So move.
On the motion to close, Board Member Abramov?
Yes.
Board Member Campanello?
Yes.
Board Member Cortez?
Yes.
Board Member Charcono?
Yes.
My vote's yes. Is there a motion on Lakeside, on 24 Lakeside Avenue?
I'd like to make a motion for 24 Lakeside Avenue to withdraw the application for the variance for relief of 151 feet from the 300-foot maximum length for a common driveway. I'd like to make a motion to approve a variance for relief of 29 spaces from the minimum 133 spaces parking requirement for a multifamily dwelling in an RG5 zone, including staff recommendations on page 4 of 8 of the staff memo and the waivers as well on page 4 of 8 of the staff memo.
And to cut 1B.
And to remove 1B from the recommendations.
All right. Is there a second?
So move.
On the motion, Board Member Abramov?
My vote is yes.
Board Member Campanello?
Yes.
Board Member Cortez?
Yes.
Board Member Charcono?
Yes.
My vote's yes. Thank you very much. Next up is 2 Milton Street, which I have to recuse myself for, so Board Member Ramos could take it.
Next item is 2 Milton Street. Will the person representing the petitioner please come forward and present your petition? Name and city of residence, please.
Good evening. My name's Jay Gallant. I'm an architect for the project. I live in Paxton, and owner of the project, the property is Anacleto Graberio. He's right here, and I could briefly describe the project. So we were here about 2 years ago. I don't know who was on the board at that time, but we proposed 4 units on this property, and the comments were that it was too much, too dense, too many units. We had 3 driveways proposed on Milton Street with less than 160 feet of frontage. It just didn't, it was a little too much. We were too close to property lines, et cetera. It's an odd-shaped property, as you can see. We have changed the proposal to 3 units, which seems to fit much better on the property. One unit will be accessed from North Street, which is on the bottom right of the screen there. All right, yeah, so Milton Street's on the left, North Street's on the bottom, as you can see. So one unit will be accessed from North Street, and then 2 from Milton Street. So one of our special permit request is for 2 curb cuts, and we have less than 160 feet of frontage, and 80 feet is required per curb cut. The main thing we're here to seek relief for is the setback on the side, which is on the north at the top of the screen here. We're a little too close to that property line, and then a little too close to the rear property line, which, as you can see, is a very kind of oddly shaped series of property lines, because the 2 properties on North Street, 27 and 29, which were originally owned by the same owner, have been sold. And so anyway, that's the issue, is that we're close to those 2 property lines. And we've adjusted the shape of the building to work both for relative ease of construction and also to be as far as possible from the property lines while still working functionally. One of the staff comments was about fencing, so I can skip right to that. Basically, we accept all of the recommendations, including the one about fencing. Currently, there's a fence. As I mentioned, the property was previously owned, the adjacent properties were previously owned by the same owner, but there was a building that was on the 2 Milton Street property which was removed. That was a single-family residence. It was demolished about 3 years ago, and a fence was put up after the demolition to kind of keep people off the now vacant 2 Milton Street property. That fence will be removed along the rear property line as recommended, because we're only going to have about 4 feet of clearance between the property line and the nearest point. As you could see that from one of the earlier slides that was up. If you could go back to the floor plans, please. Right there. It's close to the property lines, but there won't be any method, any fence in the way of access, so we can get around the buildings. And all right, it's needed housing in the neighborhood, very similar to some of the neighboring properties that are multifamily, and it's a good use of the property, and it'll be a nice development for the area.
Okay. That it?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. City?
Through the chair, this is Rose in the Planning Division. So just to recap some of the discussion, the applicant is seeking to construct a 3-unit townhouse-style dwelling, so or a single-family attached style dwelling. As stated, they previously came before the board in 2023 seeking 4 units, 4 attached style units. So you can imagine there was one more unit right in the middle. I think a lot of the board members may recall and were on the board at the time. And so the earlier iteration, they were set back a lot closer to the rear property line. So in addition of the reduction in density, the building's also been shifted where it's not as far set back to the rear lot line. So just to recap the relief that they are seeking, they're seeking 0.87 feet from the 8-foot minimum side yard setback. So that's plan north or left on this side from that lot line. They're seeking relief of 10.6 feet from the rear yard setback. So plan north here, and then to modify the dimensional, parking, layout, or landscaping requirements. And again, that's just for the number of curb cuts So they can only consider Milton Street the property's frontage. The frontage can't be counted on two streets, even though they have frontage on two different streets. We can only calculate it off one. So that's really what's prompting the request, since they have 3 curb cuts, even though they're technically on different streets. So this is a pretty irregular shaped lot. It was pre-existing. I believe it was a single-family home that was demolished in 2022. So we make note in our memo that it's unlikely that any structure would be able to be sited on the lot without some type of setback dimensional relief, just because of the historical layout of this property. I think it certainly was commonly owned with a number of the parcels to the right, but they're no longer held under common ownership today, so this is one of the funky lots we're left with in Worcester. So in terms of some of our recommended conditions of approval, we had asked that they perpetually do not install any fencing along that rear property line. So at the closest point, it's just about 4.5 feet. So that's enough for people to circulate the site, but it is tight. So just making sure for emergency egress purposes that it remains unfenced, people are able to pass. We had asked that they make some updates to the civil plan. So any information that was related to the prior approval, I think we did receive an updated plan today. So I think that one's been addressed, but and then the only other thing was regarding the architectural elevation. So we just wanted to confirm the height of the structure is compliant. And then one of the garages was flipped. The northernmost one was flipped on the architectural plan. So just wanted to see that get updated. Yeah, I think that's all I have to add. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Just to clarify for me, the variance on the north side, 0.87 feet, is fairly minimal. The variance on the rear is 10.6 feet, but it's not for the entire property. Is there one corner? Can you help me identify where it's
Yes, if you
short?
could go back, oh, yeah, maybe the floor plan might be even easier to see. There's one spot, as Rose said, well, actually, there are 2 kind of corners that jut in closely, but the closest one is towards the bottom there, next to the building that's on 27 North Street.
Using this plan, where is there a problem? Is it just that one?
It's that one odd corner.
That corner? And that's part of the building that we're looking at
Yes.
on the right?
Well, it looks like it's in the corner, so and the units are labeled. Can you see Unit 1 there on the left?
Where is that? Oh, Unit 1, Unit 2.
Yeah, so do you see the corner of Unit 1, and it's very close to that property line that's directly to the right of it, that odd corner that juts in.
Oh, so that's the problem right there.
Looks like it.
That spot is pretty close. It's at 6 feet, but there's a spot that's at 4 feet something.
Oh, see how we clipped the corner of the building for Unit 3? You're right, that's closer, Victor.
Jay, I think it's this spot right here, where the corner of the lot line
That's
juts
the closest
in.
spot? Okay.
I think so.
So except for those 2 spots, the rest of the side yard setback is adequate.
It's a very fair comment that it's not for the entirety of the property, it's just for those areas, and it's because of the irregular shape of the lot.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Is there anybody in the audience who wishes to be heard on this? Okay, nobody. Is there anybody online? You can press *9 to raise your hand. Victor, do you see anybody? No, there's nobody there. Okay, why don't we hear from the rest of the board members? Board Member Campanello?
Through the chair. I think this is a creative design for a very odd-shaped lot. This is one of those applications where I have a hard time envisioning it spatially. So I'll be interested if this does get approved, looking at it one day and seeing it compared to the plans. But I have no problems moving this forward.
Thank you. Board Member Cortez?
Through the chair. Don't have much of a concerns, but I would like to know from from the project proposal to address a concern brought up by the staff regarding the adequacy of circulation between units from an emergency grease standpoint. Could you address that? Is going to be...
Yes, so it's the removal of the fence. There won't be a fence along the rear property line where the odd-shaped property becomes close to the building. It's probably the best we can do, considering the shape of the property.
Through the chair, when you say the rear property line, that's on with the North Street neighbor?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, I guess would that satisfy the staff?
Through the chair, it might be helpful to also add, like if you intend to notify the residents that they can't keep any like lawn furniture out there, or that they need to maintain this area as clear and passable, that the lot's going to remain under common ownership, their properties won't be divided, like there would be no reason for people to want to put up a fence, just stuff like that.
Would that be amenable to that?
Yes, great, thank you, thank you. You all set?
I'll say.
Board Member Torkino, do you have any comment?
No comment.
Okay, and Board Member Sacco, and by the way, I should add that you'll be voting on this.
Hello, can you hear me?
Any comment?
No, I think it's a really unique plan to a like, odd, not going to say odd, but just a different looking layout. And no other comment.
Great, thank you, thank you. So hearing no other comments, do I have a motion to close the hearing?
Through the chair, just confirming you did request the waivers? Okay.
Thank you.
So move.
I'd like to make a motion to close then.
I'm sorry. I second the motion.
Okay, on the motion, Board Member Campanello?
Yes.
Board Member Cortez?
Yes.
Board Member Torkino?
Yes.
Board Member Sacco?
Yes.
And my vote is yes. So on the petition.
I'd like to make a motion for 2 Milton Street for variance for relief of 0.87 feet from the 8-foot minimum side yard setback requirement for a single-family attached dwelling in an RG5 zoning district, for a variance for relief of 10.6 feet from the 15-foot minimum rear yard setback requirement for a single-family attached dwelling in an RG5 zone, and for a special permit to modify the parking dimensional layout and/or landscaping requirements, loading requirements, and/or the number of required parking spaces, including the recommendations on pages 4 and 5 of the staff memo, and the waivers as requested on page 5 of 6 of the staff memo.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Through the chair, yes, we may, on the recommendations, the point suggested by Ross
And
on notifying the
tenants that they can't put up a fence or...
Through the chair, I think we have the condition regarding fencing listed as number 9.
And it's perpetual.
If the board wants any additional information on how they intend to notify tenants, you're more than welcome to add something to that effect. But I think it's really the physical barriers.
That seems to cover it.
Okay, that's fine.
Thank you. Do we have a second on that motion?
So move.
On the petition, Board Member Campanello?
Yes.
Board Member Cortez?
Yes.
Board Member Torcono?
Yes.
And Board Member Sacco?
Yes.
And my vote is yes.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Board Member Borg Powers re-enters the room.
All right. One more. Next up is 100-120 Thomas Street.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board. For the record, my name is Joshua Lee Smith. I'm an attorney with the law firm of Bowditch and Dewey. We've got a very brief slide deck for you this evening. I promise to be quick. I realize that I am the last item on tonight's agenda, Victor, are you controlling the screen or is Rose?
Victor.
Okay, great. So, if you could go to, you have our slide deck, correct? Is the first, as Victor's pulling this up, so the site, just as by way of background, includes two parcels technically, 100 and 120 Thomas Street. This property is within the CCOD, the downtown sub area, so it's within a BG6. The building itself is the former VNA hospital building, which was built many, many decades ago, and is going through a revival of sorts. It is currently occupied partially by medical office occupants. My client recently entered into a lease with Success on the Spectrum, which is we're very happy to be bringing Success on the Spectrum to the city of Worcester and to this property. So they will be occupying a portion of the building, and as part of the project, with respect to the build-out and the fit-up, in addition to fit-up within their particular unit, there's also going to be what's called an infill addition to the building. So the footprint of the building itself is not going to be modified at all. However, if you are familiar with the building itself, currently right now, there's a portion of the building that you can walk under, drive under. That's going to be infilled. It's about 942 square feet in total. That's going to be a portion of Success on the Spectrum's new unit. So that's one aspect of the building project. We have been before the planning board with respect to the exterior portions or the site work portion of the project and obtained parking plan approval from the planning board. That project was fully vetted. We actually came into the project with a little bit more of an expansive site work with respect to reconfiguration of the parking spaces. We decided to contract that, to pull that back. We had actually sought upwards of 130 parking spaces. There's currently 90 parking spaces that are on the 120 portion of the site, and we were seeking to expand that into the 100 Thomas Street parcel to have 130 parking spaces. But we based on feedback from the board and the project team huddled up, we pulled that back to have a much more smaller project with respect to the site work and the parking lot. So there are a number of improvements, however, still with respect to the parking lot. However, what we're proposing is a total of 90 parking spaces, which is close to what currently exists today. The specific special permit, however, that we're seeking from this board, from the ZBA, pertains to something that was, I won't say an oversight, but it was something that was discovered late in the process as we were before the planning board. To be quite frank, we were not even expecting to have to be before the ZBA. However, as was pointed out by, and I can't recall who pointed this out, it was either Rose or Victor or Michelle, but they pointed out that there was a pre-existing non-conforming component to this building. Again, this building predates certainly the CCOD. The CCOD is relatively new. It's over a decade old. However, this building is much, much older. So the nonconformity with respect to this building pertains to what Victor's showing here on the screen right now. As you can see, there's a door that is proposed. This is an exterior door that will be along Thomas Street. So Thomas Street is on the southern portion of the site. The site is surrounded by 3 streets. Thomas Street on the bottom or the south, Summer Street on the right or the east, and then on the top or the north is School Street. So as part of this development project with respect to the build out, and you can see that infill portion of the building right on the bottom left corner, that's that shaded area, that's the infill area. Right around there, again, facing Thomas Street, there'll be a door that's going to be included. Now, this is going to be an egress-only door. This is not going to be an entry door. So technically, It does not comply with this one requirement in the CCOD, which basically says that you have to have at least one primary entryway along a street if you've got a building within the CCOD. This building never had that. As you may have seen from the renderings here, the facade of this building, which is part of the project of the overall project, is to improve the facade, add some ADA ramp. As you can see here, this is a rendering. There's a number of facade improvements that are proposed. The entry faces the parking lot. It does not face any street. And again, this is a pre-existing non-conforming condition. As part of this project, we are making it more conforming, however, because right now there is no door at all that faces Thomas Street or Summer Street or School Street. So we are adding a door, yet we acknowledge it probably does not rise to the level of a primary entry door. I forget the exact term, but the requirement of the CCOD that requires this entry door to be along the side. Our argument is that certainly the facade improvements, the sort of grandeur of the entry that does, yes, technically face the parking lot, you can see it, most of it. If you're on Thomas Street or on School Street, you can see a lot of this prominent facade, especially with the improvements that are proposed. We are adding a door. It does not necessarily rise to the level of the required CCOD primary entry door. We are providing a walkway, which does not exist today, to and from this egress door, so that'll be an enhancement, along with all of the other enhancements that the planning board has already vetted and approved with respect to new landscaping, again, in accordance in the spirit of the CCOD, new landscaping along the side, a number of new trees, all in compliance in terms of perimeter as well as interior parking with respect to the trees, which took a little bit of creative thinking on the design team's part to be able to squeeze in all of these trees. And EV spaces, as well as bike storage. A lot of what the CCOD it really contemplates is being incorporated into this project. So again, the one ask here with respect to the special permit is pertains to this lack of a primary entry door along the Thomas Street side. The other item, which technically is a special permit, is again something that was encouraged by staff as well as encouraged by the board, is an increase in the number of compact spaces. So we are increasing the number of compact spaces to the point where we exceed that 25%. So technically we do need a special permit. And again, in accordance or in the spirit of not only the CCOD, but what I think the city is looking to do with respect to having compact spaces, having a variety, diversity of types of parking, et cetera. So that's all I wanted to say with respect to this project. We do have the staff memo. There are a couple of items that I'd just like to point out on that, but otherwise, happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Staff.
Through the chair, this is Rose in the Planning Division. So just a brief overview of this project. It's currently an existing structure located in the CCOD downtown district. It's located on the corner of 3 different streets. So you have School to the north, Summer Street to the east, and then Thomas Street to the south. So this provision that we're talking about, that they're seeking a special permit from to extend, alter, change a privileged, pre-existing, non-conforming structure is in regard to provisions in the CCOD which were adopted, like Josh said, in 2014 or 2015. So this building predates those provisions by quite some time. So it's considered a privileged pre-existing, that it doesn't have a primary pedestrian entrance facing an abutting street. So in the downtown corridor and the CCOD, we try to encourage activating pedestrian corridors, making it feel a little more lively and part of the pedestrian network. So we're really looking to encourage and require that developments have a primary entrance facing the street. So the building was constructed not that way. It's facing the parking facility. And so they applied for parking plan approval through the planning board, and they also obtained a special permit to modify some parking loading landscape items through the planning board. And through that process, we identified that this privileged nonconformity was being modified through the infill addition. So if anyone's familiar with the site today, it's an existing like drive-through loading area. So the building footprint isn't changing, but the square footage is increasing because it was kind of like a bump out before that they're filling in. So they're looking to accommodate one of their new tenants. The building is partially occupied at this time. It was previously owned and operated as one facility for the VNA, and now it's been broken up into some different tenant spaces. And so, as you can see, we had up on the screen before, a lot of the work's already been done, not in regard to the parking lot, but for the building addition itself. So you can see they've installed the door. Unfortunately, we can't make any recommendations of what they could construct as a primary pedestrian entrance because it's already been done. And the building wasn't designed to facilitate this. That entrance that they're adding goes directly into that unit or upstairs to the units above, so it's not a public entryway. So they're seeking that, and then they have applied for a special permit to modify parking, loading, layout, and landscaping requirements for the number of compact spaces. This one I'm hoping to discuss with the applicant. So the plan they have provided shows 21 compact parking spaces. To meet the threshold for by right, so you're allowed to provide 25% of your compact spaces by right, that would allow them 22 compact spaces, so they're one space below that threshold. So what they've provided, they don't need the relief. We suggest they withdraw. But one of our conditions of approval is that they add 3 compact spaces. It's condition 1E, the northwesternmost 3 parking stalls. So plan northwest, we had asked as part of their parking plan approval that we required that they provide an additional perimeter tree planting in this location. And the sidewalk comes onto their property over a foot, so there is some landscape buffer here, but because of the location of the sidewalk on their private property, it's kind of squeezed. So there was a tree there today. There was a tree that's now died because of the conditions, but it's a requirement that they have to meet of their site plan approval. So we're asking that these 3 spaces specifically are reduced to compact, that space is reallocated to the landscape buffer so that tree will survive. And so if they're amenable to that condition of approval, then they do need the special permit to allow greater compact spaces, which is what we hope. They had applied for it they thought they would exceed the number allowed by compact spaces when they revised the plan to comply with the parking plan approval. That didn't end up being the case, but we'd like them to do that and continue to seek that relief and comply with 1E. Otherwise, if they're not amenable to that, they should withdraw the relief since they don't need it. So one way or the other, they should seek it or withdraw it. So the only other thing we had that I want to make note of is that prior to June 1st, we asked that all improvements shall be constructed and completed. Given the time of year, we don't want them to necessarily go out today and make all these plantings, so we just ask not prior to occupancy. Since they already have permits in progress, we don't want to hold them up on that front, but we do just want to make sure that before the next growing season that they have all those plantings in there. And then, I'll keep going, sorry. On 1C, we just asked that they depict, it's the corner of the building on Summer and Thomas Street, that they depict whatever they're proposing in terms of fencing. So they're seeking to do some rock garden landscaped area, so and they wanted to do some post and chain fencing, so more smaller scale decorative fencing, which is acceptable to staff. We just like to see details for what they're proposing, so we're able to evaluate and say, is this in line with the decision of the planning board? Is this CCOD? Does it meet the intent of what we're trying to do here? So if they want to do the fencing, we just ask that they depict it on the plan along with any changes to impervious surface with this area. So the applicant has any questions, I'm happy to clarify this condition, but I will leave it there, and thank you.
Thank you. To the applicant, is that amenable?
Mr. Chair, so with respect to item 1E pertaining to the compact parking spaces, my client is amenable to that one. That was upon further investigation with respect to what type of a tree, perimeter tree, could be planted in that northwest corner. So 1E is fine. I would like to talk about 1F and item 2, if we could. I'll start with probably, I think, the easier one. Item 1F, and this was also stricken in the planning board DPRS memo as well. This pertains to the easement, granting of an easement. My client is probably amenable to this. However, he would prefer that this not be an actual condition of approval. He would rather see the language of that easement before agreeing to it. But if we could, we would prefer that that be removed, and then he certainly would work with staff and perhaps the law department on what the easement could look like post-approval. That's item 1F. With respect to item 2, prior to June 1, 2026, this is a little concerning for my client, just mainly because construction activities, while he certainly has the intent to commence construction activities as soon as possible, and as Rose mentioned, a lot of the actual building work has already been completed, fit-up work has been completed. Some of the other site work, however, I think it's sort of out of his hands with respect to certainly when it can be completed. When it can be commenced, I think is more under his control. I understand the seasonality of the plantings. This language is broader than that. It mentions all improvements. And frankly, this is not a condition that I can recall seeing in the city of Worcester with respect to either the planning board or zoning board in terms of something having to be completed. Statutorily, I mean, the special permit, it provides just on its, by statute, it allows for commencement within a year and then completion within 2 years. So I think there's certainly, my client has evidenced enough that this tenant is coming here. There's no question about that. The work has already been largely completed.
So would it be, could we change it to all plantings shown on the plans shall be constructed and completed by June 1st? Is that amenable?
My only hesitation there is just oftentimes the plantings are the last item. And then so the plantings are, the factor of when those plantings get actually installed could be subject to other construction-related activities that may be beyond their control. So we'd respectfully just request that be removed. I mean, my client has already been working with David Horn's department in terms of all of the other work. This project has already happened in large part. It's going to continue to happen. So we would respectfully just request that one be removed.
Through the chair, can I comment on that?
Yes, please.
For a typical project that would come to the ZBA, the last step where we would verify that everything's been completed according to the plan approved by the ZBA would be the certificate of occupancy. I think in this case, the applicant is seeking that certificate of occupancy far ahead of when they intend to do all these improvements. And that's why we have this additional step that by a certain date, they have to complete the rest of the improvements. If the applicant would rather that we just condition everything prior to the certificate of occupancy, city staff would be certainly amenable to that, but I think we're doing this differently to accommodate their need for additional time, which is why we put a deadline of June 2026. I think we'd probably be amenable to pushing back that deadline further if that helps with the applicant's objection.
It certainly would help. So I've got the applicant, Phil Schwachman, who is the principal, one of the principals, on the line. Phil, have you been following this discussion through the chair? And you might be muted. And while Phil might be joining.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So it's our intention to proceed with this project in the construction sequences. We have almost completed the interior fit-up and the exterior infill, and the next item in the construction sequence is the improvements to the parking lot. And the final item would be the landscaping, which will be situated primarily along the perimeter and the corners of the parking lot with some in the interior islands of the parking lot. So the landscaping will be the last item that happens, and some of the landscaping planting schedules are spring, fall, dependent on weather and the availability of certain tree species. But I want to assure everybody that it is our intention to continue until completion, and we just don't want to be required to do it when the plantings are not available or the site improvements haven't been completed. We understand that if we proceed with certain of the improvements to the parking lot before everything is finalized and the decision recorded, we proceed at our risk, and we're getting close to the point where if we don't pull the trigger on the pavement and that aspect of the site work, we could be delayed. So I think if you're looking for a date not to exceed, I think we'd be comfortable with the fall of 26, let's say the end of September of 26. I think that there is nothing that I can think of that should delay us beyond that, and hopefully we'll finish up long before that as well.
That works for us here. I mean, it works for me, but I'm
Mr.
seeing Adam
Chairman.
nodding. You can't see. Yeah, so I'll put October 1st.
Chairman, can I make a
Yeah, go
comment
ahead,
through you,
please.
sir? I was just curious, usually in cases like this, Josh, we entertain a temporary certificate of occupancy. Is that something to hold out for the final landscaping? Because this is something we do all the time, and it's always at the end.
Yeah. Phil, would that?
I think, if I may, Mr. Chairman, I think that may cause a problem for the new tenant. The Success on the Spectrum is a new startup business. They're getting an SBA loan from not a traditional lender, and they have been very fussy about having all kinds of sign-offs and assurances and whatnot. We've been property owners in the area for 50 years, and you have our assurances that we will complete the project.
I feel comfortable making it October 1st and just calling it a day, and then that sort of gets at everyone's trying to get at. Okay, there's no one here in person. Is there anybody online? Victor, is anybody online left?
No.
Okay. I'm good with moving this forward. I think it's fine. I'm comfortable striking 1F. I'm comfortable changing to prior to October 1st and calling it a day. This is pretty straightforward, so I don't have anything else. Board Member Bromoff.
I have no comment.
Board Member Campanello.
Through the chair, I agree with the chair's comments with removing 1F, and changing prior to October 1st for number 2.
Board Member Cortez.
Through the chair, I'm also in agreement with your recommendation.
Board Member Sacco. Board Member Turcono, excuse me.
I agree with your recommendation, and I have no more comment. I support the deal to move forward. Thank you.
Board Member Sacco.
Also in agreement, no comment. Thank you.
Okay, well, there's no one here, so I'll take a motion.
And Mr. Chair, excuse me, we are seeking the waivers that are set forth in the memo.
Okay.
The only last item is just
sorry.
more question clarification on
Okay.
item 1D, which provides, revise the 5-foot parking setback to reflect 3-foot parking setback along the rear lot line. Just through the chair to Rose or Victor, when you say the rear lot line, are you referring to the westerly lot line, that shared lot line between the two parcels? That be a 3-foot as opposed to a 5-foot? I'm assuming that's what you meant.
Through the chair, I think it is that lot line, but I do see we are asking you to reduce the size of the landscape buffer.
I think we're asking you to reflect that it's 3 feet and not 5 feet.
In the plan.
Yes. Okay. I just want to make sure I understood which lot line you were
Yeah,
referring to.
yeah. I think it looks like it's 3 there.
Yeah,
This says 5.
right. I think that was a labeling correction.
Labeling, yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
And
Thank you,
just-
Mr. Chair.
Just to clarify for the record, you are seeking the special permit to increase the number of compact spaces to 24 plus or minus, and/or 26% compact spaces?
Through the chair, that's correct.
Is there a motion to close?
I'd like to make a motion to close.
Is there a second?
Second.
On the motion to close, Board Member Bromoff.
My vote is yes.
Board Member Campanello.
Yes.
Board Member Cortez.
Yes.
Board Member Torcono.
Yes.
My vote's yes. Is there a motion on 100 and 120 Thomas Street?
I'd like to make a motion for 100 and 120 Thomas Street for a special permit to extend, alter, or change a privileged pre-existing non-conforming structure, for a special permit to modify the parking dimensional layout and/or landscaping requirements, loading requirements, and/or the number of required parking spaces, including the staff recommendations on page 5 of 8, including removing 1F and amending number 2 to read prior to October 1st, including the waivers as requested on page 5 of 8 of the staff memo.
Is there a second?
I do second the motion as stated.
On the motion, Board Member Bromoff.
My vote is yes.
Board Member Campanello.
Yes.
Board Member Cortez.
Yes.
Board Member Torcono.
Yes.
My vote's yes. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
There isn't any communications. I hate to keep everybody longer, but there was a request from the staff to discuss board member procedures and policies. And just to clarify for the board, how it works when you abstain and how it works when you vote no. And to clarify that when you abstain, it's like a vote no because of the number of people we have. And so if you are planning to vote no or abstain, it is your job to do so if you feel that that is appropriate as your role representing the city. And I take that, and I think that you should always vote what you feel is in the best of your interest. But if you could communicate that to the chair beforehand so that we can plan accordingly and everybody can be on the same page, that would be super helpful. So just to clarify for the procedures, I want people to do their job representing the city in the way that you represent them, and also communication is key. So just make sure you're communicating it accordingly. And if there's any questions about it, please just ask. And if you want to take a recess to talk with the staff just to clarify, just ask me for a recess. You know that I will always say yes. We will take a break so we can discuss it legally. Obviously, you can't discuss it with other board members, but you can discuss it with staff. So if you have questions, just ask for a pause. I know when I first came to the zoning board, I would whisper to the person next to me all the time, what the heck's going on? And so I would rather us ask lots of questions and talk to each other so we're all clear. So just thanks everyone for that. If you have any questions, please let me know.
Can I add a little bit to that?
Yes, please, Victor, go ahead.
So I second everything that the chair said. So generally, board members should think of abstaining as being the same thing as voting against an application. If board members feel that they can't vote impartially about an application for XYZ reasons that aren't related to strictly the criteria that the board is supposed to use to review applications, or if a board member has an issue with an application and they don't want to vote in favor of it, but they don't want to kill the project either by voting against it, the way to do that would be to announce that you want to recuse yourself or you don't want to vote on the application for a personal objection or reason, and then ask the board member to select you ask the chair to select another board member, probably an alternate board member, to vote in your stead. And as the chair already said, ideally you raise this early on in the discussion, let the chair know so that it's not a surprise at the voting moment. We've run into a few hiccups with that recently. So I think that's all I had to add. All right, great. Thanks.
I will admit I did not get to see if there was minutes before the board meeting. I normally do check them, but I just did not have a chance today. Do we have minutes? I will cop to, I normally read them, and I
Well, it seems like none of the board members saw the minutes if we did have minutes, so.
Yeah.
Through the chair, I
Push them
didn't
off.
see minutes.
I didn't
They
see
may
them
be there.
earlier. But I didn't see them earlier in the week. I didn't know if they came today.
They were in there a little bit last week, so.
Oh, were
But
they?
let's just
Oh,
hold
geez, I
that.
missed
Let's wait to hold that.
Should we hold it, or do people feel comfortable? Has anybody else read it? I
Through
feel
the
comfortable.
chair, I'd like to hold it.
Okay, yeah, we'll hold it. I apologize. I will take responsibility as the chair for having not done my responsibility in reading it, and ask that we hold it and apologize to the staff.
You have to at least pretend to have read the minutes to vote on them in the future.
I do actually try to read them beforehand, and I feel a little embarrassed that I did not do so. It's been sort of a week.
Thank you.
Okay, in that case, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
All in favor? Or we need a second. We need a second first. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks. We're adjourned.